to be privileged and can go to the media only after the Speaker has received your communication. Nevertheless, I directed the clerk to respond to the honorable member for Kiharu and guide him on the applicable procedure. As honorable members are aware, Standing Order 29 requires any member desirous of convening a special sitting of the House to engage the leadership of their party or coalition to submit a request for the consideration of the Speaker. Additionally, all members must be given at least 3 days' notice of any request to convene a special sitting of the House, which ordinarily excludes the proposed day of the sitting. So any one of you members who wants at any time to ask the Speaker to convene a special sitting, you go to your leader in the House. If you are on the left side, you go to Junet. If you are on the right side, you go to Ichungwa and request him to make the requisition and request for you. That's what you're standing on. Or today, a day on which the House was scheduled to resume its sittings as per the approved calendar. This rendered the question of special sitting moot or simply academic. Honorable members, it is my view that the issue of rising fuel costs may only be addressed through concerted, objective, and cross-cutting efforts across all players, including the national government, the legislature, and our private sector. Isolated and subjective utterances are unhelpful at this time and only serve to politicize a matter that is of critical concern to our economy and the welfare of all Kenyans. Cognizant of several prior requests received from the honorable members to prioritize debate on the subject upon resumption of the sittings of the House, I have approved a motion on the matter for consideration by the House during this afternoon sitting. Who also asked me, like Nindi Nyoro, to and procedurally call the House. In conclusion, honorable members, the timely consideration of the critical House business that I have highlighted calls for your utmost dedication. I therefore urge each member to rise to the occasion so that together we deliver on the talk to this petrol issue. We will be able to assign you time this afternoon after the notice has been given to the 5 million Kenyans to speak soberly without incitement and emotion so that together and collectively we assist our country to move forward. We know we have a problem, and we know the problem is not limited to Kenya. It's a global issue. But Kenya, as a country, must also rise to the occasion to find solutions to its unique problems through the people's representatives who, for the time being, are privileged to be yourselves. Thank you.
Order number 3, messages.
Members on their feet, take your seats, take the nearest seats. Koyo, take the nearest seat. Kuroria, take the nearest seat. Don't waver the. Honorable members, allow me to convey a message from the Senate. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 41-4, I wish to report 1, the mediated version of the National Disaster Risk Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2023. 2, the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2025. 3, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 48 of 2024. 4, the Forest Conservation and Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 72 of 2023. 6, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 Message conveys that on 21st May 2026, the Senate considered and approved the mediated version of the National Disaster Risk Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2023 in the form proposed by the Mediation Committee. You will recall that on 29th April 2026, the National Assembly considered and approved the mediated version of the said bill in the form proposed by the Mediation Committee. Consequent to this, the approval of the mediated version of the National Disaster Risk Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2023, by the House Operation Bill number 2025, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill 2024, and the Forest Conservation and Management Amendment Bill 2025 by the Senate, in the form passed by the National Assembly, effectively concludes their bicameral consideration. I will therefore proceed to present the bills to honorable members. The fifth and sixth messages convey that on the 12th May 2026, the Senate considered and passed the Kenya National Council for Population and Development Bill, National Assembly Bill number 72 of 26, the National Assembly's consideration of the two bills in accordance with the provisions of Article 1121B of the Constitution. To this end, I hereby refer the Senate amendments to the Kenya National Council for Population and Development Bill, National Assembly Bill number 72 of 2023, and to the Department 6 regarding processing of messages received from the Senate during the short and long recesses via notification number 004 of 2026 dated Friday, 15 May 2026. I refer the schedule of Senate amendments to the bill to the Budget and Appropriations Committee for consideration, having determined that the bill was of priority. Indeed, noting the centrality of the bill in facilitating the proper functioning of the national and county governments and the continuity of service delivered to the citizens and the attendant statutory timelines. Members, before we call the next order, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's Gallery St. Teresa's Kimangao Girls from Commission Academy from Embakasi Central, Nairobi. I've been requested by Honorable Rindikiri.
This is where laws of this country are made. This is where laws of this country are made. This is where the future of, and because you are being modeled from a very prestigious with your cousins. Mr. Speaker, we have had 5 cousins pass through this prestigious school. So I want to take this opportunity to tell her she is the next line, most likely the Member of Parliament of Wari.
Thank you.
I thank you.
I welcome to be here today to observe what their leaders do and assure them that they are the leaders of tomorrow. All of them across, that they study well, they go to their universities, and after that, they can aspire to become leaders of this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, members. I've also been requested by Honorable Julius Olesunguli to acknowledge the many members of the community of Emurua Digiri.
To say thank you for acknowledging our people from Emurua Digiri and to congratulate our colleague, Honorable David Keter alias Dollar Line. Mr. Speaker, I think you are seeing the people who are on the Speaker's Gallery, but back here there are even more. That is a testament of the fact that we, the people of Transmara, are extremely glad that the elections got finished peacefully. We were mourning greatly the death of our colleague, Honorable Joanna Ngeno. And Emurua Digiri has gone through a painful season. But we now hope, Mr. Speaker, that with the election of the Honorable Dollar Line, we open a new chapter. This was part of my constituency, and most of the people who have come today, are from my constituency. I wish to say that in the group, There is the Deputy Governor of Narok, Honorable Tamalinye, who is here, the former councillor of Kimintet and elder of Transmara, Councillor.
Give Richard Yegon the mic.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for also giving me this opportunity to contribute and welcome the new honorable member from Murwa Digil, Honorable David Keter. Mr. Speaker, you know, the honorable member and represent the people of Murwa Digil very well, my friend. We are here and represent the people of Murwa Digil very well, my friend. We are here to guide you.
Was my very good friend and was my mentor politically. And for that reason, Honorable Speaker, I have no doubt that the new Member of Parliament from Emurua Dikir will be able to fill the shoes of Honorable Joanna Ngong.
Me the opportunity to warmly welcome the new member and to congratulate him. I just have a small point of information and that I would like to share with him and also to invite him to follow up. On behalf of the Committee on Sports, we did engage with the Sports Fund and the Ministry of Culture to have a musical exchange is secured, and we did request that it be formalized and not left on an ad hoc basis. And for your information, Ngong, I think I paid his school fees for you at the University of Nairobi on the instructions of the late Raila Amolo Odinga, and we actually created that constituency for him specifically. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, as you may have seen in the media, it was one of the cruising battles in Emurua Dikir. We want to thank the late Ngeno.
Papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 26th May 2026. One is a report on the budget and of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the Senate amendments. 3 is amendment of Article 10, Sub-Article 3 is amendment of Article 10, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution of the African Civil Aviation Commission, 4 of the Constitution of the African Civil Aviation Commission, AFCAC, from the Ministry of Foreign and the County Government of Elgeyo Marakwet, AC, from the Ministry of Foreign and the County Government of Elgeyo Marakwet. 7 is report of the third quarter of the National Government Constituency Development Fund for the financial year 2025-2026. 8 is the annual report of the Teacher Service Commission for the financial year 2024-2025. And 9, report of the Auditor General on the citizens' accountability on the implementation of the Green Zones Development Project, who indeed have huge shoes to fit into those of our former colleague and former confidence that the people of Emurua Dikir. Honorable Speaker, I do not know why Millie, the two whips, the minority whip and the majority whip, the Honorable Millie and Osoro, are insisting that the girls from the Alliance Girls High School have left. They are behind here waiting for the Member of Parliament for Kikuyu constituency to take a photo moment with them and buy them lunch. Yes. Honorable Speaker, because these are our children, and this school hosts students from every corner of this country, Honorable Speaker, being a national school. And therefore, it is not a school that belongs to Kikuyu constituency.
I'm running because I was listening to the proceedings online, and I could only hear, because we are talking about constituency has people in alliance, but we say.
He's just said so. And on the issue of no women welcoming the students, the Speaker does not prod anybody to speak. And no lady MP volunteered or sought, yes, the attention of the Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And it is good that we are encouraging these young ones to come to the House. And I must thank you, Honorable Speaker, and the Commission for always availing the facilities for our students to come and learn, so that they do not fall into the temptation of some of their leaders today who are misinforming the country on what is going on, Honorable Speaker. I have seen leaders pretend that there is a finance bill in this House that does not exist. A finance bill, Honorable Speaker, I saw some, and you know, Honorable Speaker, it is sad when some are senior lawyers, some who have served in this House for a long time, portend that the finance bill that is coming before the House, which is lined for first reading today, has provisions that are converting leasehold land, to, freehold land to leasehold, and taxing land, Honorable Speaker. And I want to encourage Kenyans, just like these students are coming to learn, to take time and familiarize themselves with the provisions of what is contained in bills. And they are freely available on the parliamentary website, including the finance bill. Because I've seen a lot of misinformation on social media, Honorable Speaker. In fact, there is one person from KJ's constituency, I think it's called Kinothia Finya something, or Fanya nothing. Fanya nothing, I don't know. Who the member for Dagoretti South tells me that man is vying for an MCA seat, or vied for an MCA seat in Dagoretti South. And I saw him on a clip on social media telling Kenyans that all your freehold land will be converted into leasehold through the finance bill, and you start paying taxes for it. And you know, the finance bill has no such provision. And not just the finance bill, we have no bill before this House with any such provision. And I've seen a lot of things, Honorable Speaker. I saw another one today circulating something that they pretend to be the finance bill, and they even color code clauses that do not exist. And they're circulating them on TikTok. And now that's why, Honorable Speaker, I must thank all these schools. They understand when a bill comes for first reading, it is only the clerks on the table who read the bill, the title of the bill, first reading, and put it down. When the bill comes for second reading, we debate that bill as was published. You remember, Honorable Speaker, in 2024 during the finance bill, because of the misinformation and disinformation that had gone on, when we voted for second reading of the bill, many Kenyans believed that that was fait accompli, that bill had now passed, and nothing was ever going to change. Because Kenyans did not understand that we debate the bill as was published, informed by what Kenyans said during public participation, and we will then factor in what they said during public participation during committee of the whole, and finalize with the bill in the third reading. And I think, Honorable Speaker, it's good that...
Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 8, which is that pursuant the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the following priority bills from 14 days to 6 days. 1, the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 27 of 2026, and 2, the Kenya Revenue Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2026. Do I put the question? Yes. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, which is that pursuant the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the following priority bills from 14 days to 6 days. 1, the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 27 of 2026, and 2, the Kenya Revenue Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2026. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 9, motion, report on public petition number 21 of 2025 regarding access to healthcare by cancer patients in the country. Mover to reply.
The chairman of health, I don't see on the Wanyikal where he normally sits. Is he sitting elsewhere in the House? Is there any member of the committee that has been tasked to reply? You are not ready to reply, Martin? Or you have no authority to reply? We'll defer the matter to Thursday. Next order.
Order number 10, the Business Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 51 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to various laws and for connected purposes.
Next.
Order number 11, the Quantity Surveyors Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2026, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of the Institute of Quality Surveyors of Kenya, to regulate the practice of quantity surveying, to provide for the registration and licensing of quantity surveyors, to establish a council for the institute, to provide for discipline, standards, professional conduct, and accreditation, and for connected purposes.
Next.
Order number 12, the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2026, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the laws relating to various taxes and duties and for matters incidental thereto.
Next.
Order number 13, the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 27 of 2026, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Central Bank of Kenya Act and for connected purposes.
I've been advised that we stay order number 14 for some corrections on the proposed bill. So next, go to number 15.
Order number 15, motion, consideration of Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026.
Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Majority Leader, are you seized of the matter?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Honorable members, as the Majority Leader moves the motion at order number 15, which has a direct consequence on order number 16, if it is the potential decision of the House not to agree with the amendments of the Senate to the Division of Revenue Bill, then we need not go to committee. We will then have to truncate the motion and direct the Majority Leader to liaise with his counterpart to initiate a mediation process. Majority, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026, be now considered. Honorable Speaker, consequent to the committee report that I just tabled on behalf of the Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Senate amendments basically are doing two things, Honorable Speaker. One, they had sought to factor in, or rather the bill as passed by both houses did not factor in some almost 9 billion shillings, some 8.94 billion, that was to transition the universal health care workers into permanent and pensionable terms as proposed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation and the Council of Governors as equitable share. And this, Honorable Speaker, has since been factored in the annual estimates as part of the shareable revenue, or rather as part of the estimates for the State Department for Medical Services as a conditional transfer to county governments. Therefore, the Senate also did not take care of that, Honorable Speaker. And you know, these healthcare workers under UHC have been promised to be converted into permanent and pensionable staff. And therefore, we must fulfill that promise, Honorable Speaker, and that is why it has already been catered for under the annual estimates. But they sought to introduce a new clause 5, Honorable Speaker, that sought to protect any shortfall in revenue in the course of a financial year and say that that will be borne, or the national government will bear any shortfalls in revenue in the course of the year if revenue collection underperformed. Honorable Speaker, the committee does not agree, the Committee on Budget and Appropriation does not agree with the Senate on this particular issue because they say any downward adjustment in the national government budget as a result of such a shortfall will then occasion additional borrowing to finance that gap. Or even, Honorable Speaker, we may need to increase taxes to be able to finance such a gap, Honorable Speaker. And as you know, Kenyans are not very keen on any additional taxation measures. Two, Honorable Speaker, and more fundamentally, the Senate proposed to increase the shareable revenue from what is provided for in the estimates of a figure of 420 billion to 454.74 billion. And therefore, they're increasing the shareable revenue by a further 34.74 billion. And this, Honorable Speaker, they propose that this shareable revenue being increased as part of the equitable share for county governments be deducted from the national government share of shareable revenue. What that means, Honorable Speaker, for the benefit of the member for Kisii, Honorable Donya, and the member from Meru, the Honorable Dorothy Kiara, for your benefit, what this means is that if 34 billion shillings is to be deducted from the national government share of shareable revenue, even Honorable Osoro and Honorable Millie Odhiambo will lose, because it will mean you have either to reduce your NGCDF, your NGAF.
Majority Leader, that's a clever way of calling members to order.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, because I could hardly hear myself. You know, when Osoro speaks to Millie and Osoro speaks in a very animated manner, you get distracted. So I was calling them to order. But also to inform them that if we were to agree with the Senate, it would mean then that we reduce the amount of school capitation money that is going to pay school capitation to children. It would mean that the 9 billion shillings, the 8.94 billion shillings, that is being appropriated to take care of healthcare workers under UHC, then has to take a cut. Because if you increase the shareable revenue going to the counties by almost 35 billion, something somewhere has to give in. The Senate has proposed that the national government gives in. The national government share of revenue is what NGCDF shares from. It is what NGAF shares from. It is what the Ministry of Education shares from, to be able to have capitation in schools as children open schools, as happened this time. It is what we will give to the UHC workers. It is what will take care of the completion of projects. And honorable members, I was drawing your attention because remember, this is your last substantive budget in this parliament, this budget. Because the next budget that we will do in March, April next year will be implemented from 1st of July when you'll be out there campaigning. So if you have projects that you want to complete under the national government, this is the budget to complete. And I think I have communicated effectively in terms of what you want to do with these Senate amendments. And therefore, it is a proposal of the Budget and Appropriations Committee that we decline these amendments by the Senate to allow us to go into mediation and agree with our counterparts in the Senate that it would not be fair to reduce the national government share by 35 billion shillings. Then in the same spirit say, in case there is any shortfall in revenue, it is only the national government that can bear that shortfall in revenue. Honorable Speaker, we are living in very uncertain times. 6 months ago, we didn't know that there will be a war in the Gulf region. We never knew or imagined that anybody could close down the Strait of Hormuz, and we assumed things would move on normally. Today, we are confronted with a global crisis around the Strait of Hormuz and the war in the Middle East. The disruption that it comes with, Honorable Speaker, in terms of the trade routes in and out of the Middle East and connecting to other destinations in Europe, in Asia, the ramifications will be felt not just now, but even over the next many months, Honorable Speaker. And we do not know when this war will end. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, when we talk of a possible shortfall in revenue projections, it is a possibility. And if we say that that shortfall can only the national government can bear that possible shortfall, then it means in a few months down the line, we'll have a supplementary budget cutting more of the national government share and what we have budgeted to expend in the course of this financial year, Honorable Speaker. These are no ordinary times, Honorable Speaker, and these times call for leadership. And I speak about leadership, Honorable Speaker, I say that bearing in mind what the Honorable Junet was saying here. That if you indeed you are a true leader, if you desire to lead Kenya as a nation, as a president, if you have served in this house as a member of parliament for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, you know what to do in times of crisis. Honorable Speaker, when we had the COVID pandemic 6 years or so ago, we all came together as a nation and took some very painful but necessary measures. We are confronted with such a time, Honorable Speaker, again, where we have to take painful measures, and I hope we have that opportunity when we debate the motion by the Honorable GK. Let me not get into that. But I really want to urge the House to agree with the Budget and Appropriations Committee that we decline the amendments by the Senate to allow the two houses time, together with the Council of Governors and CRA and the National Treasury, time to go through a process of mediation and finish with this bill as quickly as we can, because as you know, we cannot even be able to finish with the appropriation bill without finalizing with this. So the earlier we go into mediation, the better. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I want to request the Leader of Minority to second this proposal, Honorable Speaker, by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I beg to move.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to second. And Mr. Speaker, I agree with the majority leader that we are at difficult times, because 6 months ago, as he said, no one knew that the world will turn to what it is today. And it was unforeseen, because that time we thought that things will be normal, there will be no war in the Middle East, the Strait of Hormuz will not be closed, and life will be as good as it were. But now that we are in a difficult time, the Speaker, so it is prudent upon us to show leadership. And as you know, mediation is provided for in our standing orders. So, Mr. Speaker, there is no harm in having a mediation on this matter, so that the Senate and the National Assembly could sit and analyze this matter deeper, so that we look at the issues holistically and we look at the issues in accordance with what is happening in the world today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because of what's happening in the world today, the government had to do extra measures to cushion Kenyans from the excesses that has happened in terms of fuel prices. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with the majority leader that we take this matter to mediation, so that we come up with an informed and a better and more in-depth decision than we took at the beginning of the year when we were doing, at the beginning, in the last session when we were doing the division of revenue bill. So with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I second, and I urge members to support that, so that the mediation process also could be expedited, so that a report could be tabled in the houses as fast as possible, Mr. Speaker.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Kuroria, take your seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 15, which is that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026, be now considered. I see Ndindi Nyoro wants to speak.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance. And Honorable Speaker, I call upon all of us as members in the National Assembly, because clearly this issue is headed for mediation, that it is important that we also be considerate as the members of the National Assembly to also our county governments. Honorable Speaker, there is a rise in terms of the revenues of Kenya from last financial year to this current financial year, nominally to around 8 to 10% in terms of those revenues. Honorable Speaker, also in terms of the cumulative budget, we will now be considering a budget of around 4.8 trillion Kenya shillings, a figure we have never considered in this House before. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, my call is that we must support devolution and be seen to actually support it, because we have actually maintained the same amount we gave to our county governments, the shareable revenue of 420 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, we are proposing to sustain the same. And I don't think that is fair, Honorable Speaker, and especially given that the inflationary pressures alone, we will be talking at around maybe over 5%, Honorable Speaker. It is important, Honorable Speaker, that as we consider these kind of matters, let us not personalize. When we personalize that we are giving this money to specific governors, we are likely, Honorable Speaker, to be subjective.
Yes, there's a point of order.
First, we have not yet even voted whether we are sending this matter to a mediation or not. You have not put the question yet. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I want to inform the House that it is this House that in the last financial year that increased revenue shareable revenue of the counties from 385 billion to 415 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. It's on record, Mr. Speaker. We are the owners of devolution. We know how devolution works, and we want to support devolution. So that is why, we want to send, because it is the Senate that has given this figure. It's not the National Assembly. They have said that they want to increase this revenue to 454 billion. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with them in totality. We can decrease or we can increase in accordance with what is possible. But Mr. Speaker, let us not also use this as a political, let us not politicize this process. Yes, the majority leader can inform you as a distinguished former chair of the budget committee, not the one we removed.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to inform the Honorable Junet that indeed the former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Dindi Nyoro, stood in his place in this House when we were passing the shareable revenue last year and pretended that this is not the only amount that we are taking to the counties. And if I remember well, Honorable Dindi Nyoro was speaking about a figure of 476 billion. It's in the Hansard. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in the same spirit, using Honorable Dindi Nyoro's words, I had just said when I was moving, there is some 8.94 billion that had been left out in the bill by both houses. And therefore, 420, the Honorable Dindi Nyoro is simply being intellectually dishonest because he knows. And there is no more dangerous thing than when those who ought to know better seek to misinform the country for political gain, Honorable Speaker. Because the Honorable Dindi Nyoro knows that 428 billion, as proposed, is not the only money that goes to counties. To Honorable Speaker, to remind Honorable Junet and to inform him.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance. And Honorable Speaker, I call upon all of us as members in the National Assembly, because clearly this issue is headed for mediation, that it is important that we also be considerate as the members of the National Assembly to also our county governments. Honorable Speaker, there is a rise in terms of the revenues of Kenya from last financial year to this current financial year, nominally to around 8 to 10% in terms of those revenues. Honorable Speaker, also in terms of the cumulative budget, we will now be considering a budget of around 4.8 trillion Kenya shillings, a figure we have never considered in this House before. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, my call is that we must support devolution and be seen to actually support it. Because we have actually maintained the same amount we gave to our county governments, the shareable revenue of 420 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, we are proposing to sustain the same. Inflationary pressures alone, we will be talking at around maybe over 5%, Honorable Speaker. It is important, Honorable Speaker, that as we consider these kind of matters, let us not personalize. When we personalize that we are giving this money to specific governors, we are likely, Honorable Speaker, to be subjective.
Yes, there's a point of order.
First, we have not yet even voted whether we are sending this matter to a mediation or not. You have not put the question yet. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I want to inform the House that it is this House that in the last financial year that increased revenue shareable revenue of the counties from 385 billion to 415 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. It's on record, Mr. Speaker. We are the owners of devolution. We know how devolution works, and we want to support devolution. So that is why, we want to send, because it is the Senate that has given this figure. It's not the National Assembly. They have said that they want to increase this revenue to 454 billion. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with them in totality. We can decrease or we can increase in accordance with what is possible. But Mr. Speaker, let us not also use this as a political, let us not politicize this process. Yes, the majority leader can inform me as a distinguished former chair of the budget committee, not the one we removed.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to inform the Honorable Junet that indeed the former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Dindi Nyoro, stood in his place in this House when we were passing the shareable revenue last year and pretended that this is not the only amount that we are taking to the counties. And if I remember well, Honorable Dindi Nyoro was speaking about a figure of 476 billion. It's in the Hansard. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in the same spirit, using Honorable Dindi Nyoro's words, I had just said when I was moving, there is some 8.94 billion that had been left out in the bill by both houses. And therefore, 420, the Honorable Dindi Nyoro is simply being intellectually dishonest because he knows. And there is no more dangerous thing than when those who ought to know better seek to misinform the country for political gain, Honorable Speaker. Because the Honorable Dindi Nyoro knows that 428 billion, as proposed, is not the only money that goes to counties. Two, Honorable Speaker, to remind Honorable Junet and to inform him that when we sat with him under the broad-based government arrangement, part of the 10-point agenda is to progressively move the shareable revenue to even beyond 450 billion. And we are on course, and we are working on that, Honorable Speaker. But we must also be reasonable as leaders, and that's why I said, Honorable Speaker, earlier, that this is such a time that calls for leadership, not political posturing. The easiest thing to do is to posture politically. That is why, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Dindi Nyoro will purport to be writing to you to recall the House when he knows he cannot recall even the Murang'a County Assembly, leave alone the National Assembly. And it is good in the clerk's advice to the Honorable Dindi Nyoro, he informed him that even if you were to recall the House, Honorable Speaker, this House ideally would have sat today. Looking at the dates when he wrote the letter, if you are the leader of majority or the leader of minority, was it to recall the House would have sat today. The same day we are supposed to resume business. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to call my brother dishonest, but political posturing is a very dangerous thing at a time when the nation calls for leadership.
Dindi? Oh. Then wind up your point of order.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, first I want to wind up by thanking the former chair of budget and the majority leader, Kachini. the majority leader for informing me, Mr. Speaker, properly on issues that I think are important. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say that Honorable Ndidi Nyoro is talking about governors. We are not discussing here governors, which governor is going to get what and what. That will come in the other, in Dora, the one that is Kara, the one that is coming from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, as the majority leader has affirmed here, we are on course as the broad-based government because we have increased the revenue shareable revenue from 318 to 415.
Order, Irene Mayaka, what you have done is not right. Go on.
Speaker, the covenant agreement between us in the broad-based government, that is one of them is to strengthen devolution. And Mr. Speaker, that is why in the last financial year we increased it by a whooping 30 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker, in one financial year. And as the majority has said, 420, what is being proposed now, is not the only money that is going to counties. We are going to make the staff, the workers who have been working for the counties now, permanent and pensionable in the new budget, Mr. Speaker. It's going to cost the government 9 billion again. There are conditional grants that are going to go to the counties, Mr. Speaker. In total, counties will get close to 500 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, let Ndidi Nyoro not posture politically, let him wait for the mediation to happen.
Okay, point made. Ndidi Nyoro.
Honorable Speaker, I actually never needed to be informed and actually have no time for those frivolities and filibustering. And Honorable Speaker, it is important because they have brought up, even as I go to the conclusion, about bringing some frivolities about who needed to call what and write to which letter to the Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we need to be honest to the Kenyan people, face them honestly. Honorable Speaker, we now have a situation in this country where the government joined opposition and the opposition joined government, Honorable Speaker. That even as we listen here, the majority side and the minority side leadership, Honorable Speaker, are required singing the same song, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, in such a house of debate, there must be alternative voices, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we are lying to ourselves, Honorable Speaker, and to the Kenyan people, that in this house there is a minority side and the majority side. There is none, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker,
yes.
As the House...
KJ.
Mr. Speaker, at the beginning of this session, you did do a communication to the House. And for the Honorable Member for Kiharu to call what the process is frivolity is in fact an insult to the House, an insult to yourself, an insult to the rules and procedures of this House, Mr. Speaker. There is no way the rules of this House can be frivolities, and I think it would be in order for my good friend, Honorable Ndidi Nyoro, to at least respect the House, if not the people in the House, by withdrawing what he has said, because these cannot be frivolities, Mr. Speaker.
Then will you wind up?
Honorable Speaker, going back to the debate, I just call upon all of us, Honorable Speaker, to be honest to ourselves. We need our county governments to provision healthcare services. We need, Honorable Speaker, our county governments to provision all the devolved functions and give quality service to the same people we represent. Honorable Speaker, this cannot be done through politics. When we talk about substantive issues about money, Honorable Speaker, this is not about politics. And even if it's about politics and the Kenyan people benefit, so be it. Honorable Speaker, my take is this. There is 420 billion Kenya shillings on the table. And I needed no information from anyone to tell me that you'll also be debating the debate about conditional grants. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the motion on the table. And the motion is about shareable revenue. That we are sitting here, we have seen a climb in terms of an increase of budget in entirety. We are reading now a budget of 4.8 trillion Kenya shillings. But we come to this house and we want our county governments to still get the same money they got last year in a situation where inflationary pressures alone have taken real money out of their pockets, Honorable Speaker. We must debate on, respectively, Honorable Speaker, that yes, as we propose the 420 billion Kenya shillings, that even the Senate is entitled to ask for the 34 billion Kenya shillings. We must meet somewhere, Honorable Speaker, because this is not about that specific governor. It is about the Kenyan people. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, this I had advised the House that seeing what I see, this matter is headed to mediation. And if it is, that's what resolves the divergence of opinions between the two houses. And that being the case, you have an opportunity to deal with the mediated version when it comes. And this being the case also, once we pass this, order number 16 will collapse. So do we really need to flog this? No, the mover to be called upon to reply since there has been debate. 1 minute, mover.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I reply, Honorable Speaker, it is good to indicate, as you have rightly put it, that what is being said here is premature. And the leader of minority had aptly captured it. Because, Honorable Speaker, the 420 billion is what has been, didn't mean that that is the end of it. The mediation process is when we come as leaders and agree that it is possible to increase from 420 not to 454. What is the reasonable figure? Yes. Honorable Speaker, anytime the leader of minority can inform me.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the distinguished majority leader that, Mr. Speaker, last financial year, the same bill went for mediation. And when it went to mediation, the proposed amount to counties was 395 or 94. It is the mediation committee that recommended 400 and took it to 415 billion. I don't know why the member of parliament for Kiharu is jumping the gun and saying the House must have alternative voice, which he did not have 2 years ago. He had only one voice last year. Before he was removed as chairman of budget committee, he was only on one voice. Now he wants to take my job as the minority leader, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let him go and contest that small party of his, then he will become minority leader. He can't take my job.
Honorable Speaker, I am well informed that it is, and it's actually true, that we got to 420 out of a mediation process. And that is what we are inviting the House to do, to go through a mediation process where we will nominate very serious members of this House. Very serious members. Not members who walk in for 1 minute to come and make political statements, record on TikTok and circulate out there. Serious members who sit in committees, articulate issues, weigh issues, and come up with a decision that is good for devolution, that is good for this country, and for a time such as this when the nation calls for leadership. Finally, Honorable Speaker, frivolities, Honorable Speaker, is when an elected member of this House, knowing very well the provisions of our Standing Order 29 particularly, on the recall of the House, in engaging in frivolous activities, does a letter to the Speaker, knowing very well that he has no such powers. And before even the Speaker receives that letter in his office, the member, in his usual frivolous nature, has circulated that letter on social media, leaked it to media houses in this country to make the House look bad. I would dare say, shame on you. Shame on you. Because we have seen these things from a previous senator of Muranga. You do letters and sneak them to the media. If you write to the Speaker as a dignified member of this House, write to the Speaker, wait for the Speaker to reply to you, because the Speaker, as you indicated, Honorable Speaker, you directed the clerk to inform the member that in line with our standing orders, it is only the leader of minority who could do that, or the leader of majority. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker,
was what was pointed out in your reply and your communication today, which I must say was not frivolous. You are reminding the member of Kiharu to read his standing orders. That even if you were to recall the House would have sat today. The same day the House was coming into session. I will invite the member for Kiharu to sit around this time, have the patience to listen to proposals by the distinguished member Fondia, the chair of the Transport and Infrastructure Committee, and another distinguished high-ranking member of this House, the Honorable Gekaria, who have sponsored that motion, and contribute to how we can move this country forward and leave alone political posturing for the sake of frivolous politics out there. We will have time to deal with your frivolous politics out there when the time comes. I beg to reply.
Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 15, which is that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026 be now considered. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it. Honorable members, that being the case, order number 16 exits from the order paper and dies there. Order, honorable member, take your seat. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the public gallery Mutuma Secondary School from Gatundu, North Kiambu, Golden Angels Education from Embakasi East, Nairobi. In the Speaker's Gallery, we have Kiserian Girls School from Kajiado, North Kajiado, Kieni Girls High School from Runyenjes, Embu, and teachers from North Carolina State and team from North Carolina State University, USA. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome all of you, the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them, and the teachers from North Carolina to the House of Parliament. Honorable members, it's now 4:19. I had directed that we got this motion of adjournment at 4:15. We have exceeded by a few minutes. I now call upon the member from Fondia. Yes, Mwenje, what is it?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to take a lot of time because the fuel issue is a very big issue that is coming up, Honorable Speaker. And I think it's important we discuss it. But I was wondering, Honorable Speaker, at what point you'll allocate time to discuss a less important issue, but all the same important, because, Honorable Speaker, over the weekend, the Arsenal won the league for the first time in 22 years, Honorable Speaker. And you yourself, Honorable Speaker, are a supporter of the Arsenal team. And even the PMQs, including the minority leader, even the PMQs, Keir Starmer, Honorable Speaker, commended the Arsenal. And you're the only person, Honorable Speaker, in this House. In the last 22 years, nobody was here. It's just you when we last won the league. So I think it is a less important issue, but all the same, thousands of Kenyans poured in the streets to see the Arsenal take the league. So, Honorable Speaker, I just wanted to bring that issue. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Osoro, what is it?
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, we are Kenyans.
Order.
Honorable Speaker, we are Kenyans, and we should be speaking about Shabana, Gor Mahia, and AFC. If we have to speak, and Kawangware United, if we have to speak about international games and EPL, let's talk about Manchester United. You cannot be discussing about us, Honorable Speaker. So,
yes, Junet.
Mr. Speaker, the world has realized and the world has come to terms that the biggest team in the world, the most formidable team in the world, Mr. Speaker, with the biggest following, supporters, Mr. Speaker, is none other than Arsenal, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no team like Arsenal in this world, Mr. Speaker. There are no players like Arsenal players in the world, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say this in conclusion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this in conclusion. For those who believe in Arsenal, and for those who support Arsenal, and for those who have faith in Arsenal, 30th is our day. When we are going to conquer the world, Mr. Speaker, 30th of this month, when we are going to conquer the world and win the championship, Mr. Speaker, and floor PSG, Mr. Speaker, 3-0, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, on a more serious note, Honorable Speaker, and without casting any aspersions, I thought the Honorable Mwenje would be considerate of all the other teams, Honorable Speaker, and not make this request when the Honorable Speaker is on the chair. Because the Honorable Speaker, I am not sure we can trust the Honorable Speaker on a matter touching on Arsenal. Therefore, I thought the Honorable Mwenje would be fair to at least wait for a time when the Honorable Speaker is not on the chair to make such a request for a debate on something to do with Arsenal, because the Honorable Speaker is a known is a known fan and great supporter of Arsenal. But Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Arsenal and congratulate all the other teams that play in the Premier League, and appreciate and thank the Honorable Mark Mwenje. Honorable Speaker, I happened to be in London with the Honorable Mark Mwenje, and we had a 9 a.m. meeting the day the day after the game. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Mwenje could not speak in that meeting because he had lost his voice. He made his way to North London, to the Emirates Stadium, but I say I must thank him in a very special manner because I have not been a fan of any of these teams, not Man U, not Arsenal, not Liverpool, not Chelsea. I have been a supporter of Homeboys FC in Gekambura village in Kikuyu. That thrashed Kawangware FC in their last game. But Honorable Speaker, my young daughter is an ardent supporter of Arsenal. And she has since recruited me into the Arsenal fans team. And I thank Honorable Mwenje because the Honorable Mwenje offered. The Honorable Mwenje offered. The Honorable Mwenje offered to go and queue at the Emirates Stadium for almost 2 hours and bought my daughter a jersey that has her name and number 7 on it. And when the Honorable Mwenje came back, I asked him, so how much is the jersey? That jersey, Honorable Speaker...
Number 7 is the jersey of Bukayo Saka.
Now, Honorable Speaker, if you had asked me, I would tell you number 7 is Mombi, because the jersey has the name Mombi, number 7. But what caught my attention, Honorable Speaker, as a business person, was when Honorable Mwenje told me that he had bought that jersey for about 160 pounds, translating to about 28,000 Kenya shillings. Now, Honorable Speaker, I looked at that business opportunity. Then when I saw the celebrations around Kencom over the weekend, I asked myself how I wish I knew I would have made those jerseys and sold them. But that tells you the power of sports. And the Honorable Mwenje, I would challenge you now to have a motion that will, or even a bill that speaks to how well we support our local teams, how we use our sports fund not just to develop infrastructure, but also to make sure that all our federations are properly run and we keep politics out of our football and other sports federations, because sports, Honorable Speaker, is the next frontier of investments, Honorable Speaker, in terms of areas and spaces where people can make money. And with that, Honorable Speaker, congratulations to Arsenal and thank you, Honorable Mwenje.
Yes, Millie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It would be a tragedy if we hear Arsenal people speaking here and you have Manu in the house. Mr. Speaker, in my mother tongue, There is a saying that the Angotho Korgodera, when a cow dies in the home of the thin person, we will never stop hearing the last of it. So a cow has died in the home of the thin person because they've never seen this a whole 22 years. Mr. Speaker, my husband is an Arsenal supporter. And I want to tell you that I thought for a long time that he had stopped being interested in soccer. Mr. Speaker, they have just been frustrated and depressed for 22 years. The man almost divorced me out of depression because they cannot handle defeat for 22 years. They should learn from Man U. This is the biggest team on earth. Mr. Speaker, but I also want to say that we need to remember that Gor Mahia, Kogalo, also won. But let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, even though we may be saying this on a light note, but if there is one thing you can observe, is that sport has a way of uniting people. There are people who are not friends of Baba, and Baba was an Arsenal supporter, but they are all there in Arsenal, and they were putting all the photos of Baba across and sharing all over. So let us actually strengthen our sports and our games, especially the local ones, so that we can also have our sons and daughters celebrated the way these Odera people were celebrating themselves like Unite. They've not seen this thing for let them talk to us. Us, it's only 14 years.
Really?
But we are coming next time. Mr. Speaker, you should not rule me because you are biased.
Merely in 2 minutes, you have betrayed two people, your husband and Baba. Yes, KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I carefully hesitate to ask you to declare your interest in this matter, knowing full well, Mr. Speaker, that there is a distinction between the Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula and the Speaker of this House. And I want to imagine that the Speaker of this House ought to be neutral, Mr. Speaker, as we discuss some of these matters, Mr. Speaker. And the bigger point,
declare your interest.
Mr. Speaker, I am a big fan of Kawangware United from Dagoretti South constituency that plays at Reruta BP Stadium, Mr. Speaker. And I think the bigger point would be for the Honorable Mwenje to look for opportunity in this house for us to be able to promote sports so that if we are big fans of Arsenal or Man U in Manchester United, we can get an opportunity for them to do an exhibition match in this country, in the new Talanta Stadium, Mr. Speaker. In that way, these teams would be encouraging youthful Kenyans because we know that there are countries like Rwanda that invest very early in their talent so that even 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds are already out there in these international academies getting ready for a World Cup tournament, Mr. Speaker. And I do think that our biggest joy as a country would be when our teams would be as big as the teams that are being discussed. But Mr. Speaker, I must declare my interest that Manchester United, the great Manchester United, is my team of, is the team that I support, Mr. Speaker. The great team that even remembers when they last won this Premier League, not teams that won this Premier League last when some children who are already adults, grown-ups, were not even born, Mr. Speaker. And they have just won this Premier League by fluke, Mr. Speaker, and we know the real champions shall be claiming their place in the next year's tournament. Thank you very much.
The Holy Book, the Bible, tells us that salvation is not judged by longevity. It's judged at the moment it happens. And Mwenje is damn right. Arsenal won the league. They are the champions. And they'll win. And they'll win Champions League. Order, let's not spend too much of our time discussing Man U, a team that was nearly relegated last season. We'll now invite... yes, Irene Mayaka, what is it? On the same issue?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, you know I'm known in this house as the champion of local soccer. And just as Honorable Millie said, in as much as we understand that no Arsenal fan has been able to actually say congratulations to their team since the inception of social media, because that's the last time they won. But also, Honorable Speaker, Gor Mahia has won 22 record titles. So we also need to acknowledge them for that. And Honorable Speaker, just to the point that Honorable Ishungwa said about us supporting and championing for bills and legislations that are actually supporting sports in this country, is to say that I am looking forward to this House supporting my criminalizing match fixing bill that is soon coming to the House, so that we continue supporting soccer in this country. And finally, Honorable Speaker, the Harambee Starlets have a game against Uganda on Saturday, that when they win this game, they will be participating in the World Cup for the women football. So I'm urging all the members of this House to come on Saturday to Lindsay Sports Complex so that you can also support our girls to win.
Wanjala. Wanjala. Give Wanjala the mic.
Honorable Speaker, the people of Budalangi were all on the streets, Honorable Speaker. I didn't know that they were all supporting Arsenals. Mr. Speaker, they even raised money to have fun and Siangiri Bar and other bars in Budalangi. Mr. Speaker, I've been in a shop right now. I went to buy an Arsenal attire. Mr. Speaker, the line that is there, the shop is full, and the shop is called East-West Sportswear on Moi Avenue. Honorable Speaker, Arsenal is the team to watch, and Saturday we are prepared, Mr. Speaker, all of us to cheer Arsenal as it wins the next month. Thank you. Honorable.
Thank you. Let's end it there. Order. Mwenje, you are so right. Arsenal brought 1 million Nairobians to the streets of Nairobi to celebrate their victory. GK, my interest merely is the most poorly guarded secret. My support for Arsenal.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move that this House do now adjourn under Standing Order 33-1 to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance, namely the persistent increase in fuel prices and its far-reaching effects on the transport sector, cost of living, and economic productivity across the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, much as we know that fuel prices are determined by issues beyond our control, especially now that we've had a war in the Gulf region, what we refer to as external shocks. Honorable Speaker, we must, as a House, reason together and see how we can mitigate the effects of these prices. Honorable Speaker, one of the areas which I think we must address is investment in EV vehicles. And I know we would want to reduce import prices or import tax for electric vehicles, but I would be happier if we invested in manufacturing of those vehicles here in the country so that we can create job opportunities for our young people. Two, Honorable Speaker, we need to invest in bus rapid transport corridors and commuter railway capacity so that the prices don't hit us as hard as we have experienced. And Honorable Speaker, the third thing that I believe we need to do to address the shocks is to increase our fuel reserves. Currently, our fuel reserves can only carry us for about 20 days, less than a month. In many countries that we admire, middle-income countries like Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, these countries, even South Africa, their reserves can go up to 2-3 months. And so there is, Honorable Speaker, this is an area where we need to put in more money, especially now that we have a national infrastructure fund, so that the effect, whatever happens outside the country, especially in the areas where we import fuel, we can get a bit of a buffer. And Honorable Speaker, the last thing that I believe we need to do to lower the effects of fuel prices is to diversify our sources of fuel. Currently, we are importing fuel from the Middle East, but countries that are not feeling the pain that we are experiencing have diversified their sources, and I believe we need to do so. But now coming to my area, transport sector, Honorable Speaker, I know there are some people who have tried to politicize the fuel issue, and this is really not a time to bring in a lot of politics in this area. Some have even suggested that we do away with the taxes and levies that is charged per liter of fuel. But I think this will not help us. It will even make the situation worse. This fuel levy, what we call RMLF, is what we have used to securitize resources, and we've been able to raise resources to jumpstart our roads. And you know, Honorable Speaker, we had a big issue with the stored road projects because of unpaid bills, pending bills. Honorable Speaker, with the creativity of this government led by His Excellency the President, we were able to we've been able to pay all the pending bills, and now almost all contractors are back to work. So, Honorable Speaker, if we do away with the fuel levies, it means that we will go back to the problem of pending bills. And Honorable Speaker, if we do away with the fuel levies, as has been suggested by some of us, and we will have a problem with our vehicles will get into problem because of potholes. So, Honorable Speaker, we need to balance this challenge with these suggestions and contributions so that we don't do away with the fuel levy and incur costs in maintenance of our vehicles, because we are again importing these parts. So, Honorable Speaker, I would wish the House comes up with the concrete steps, concrete measures that will mitigate these negative externalities to our economy and help Kenyans to be able to carry on with their daily activities without feeling the pain of fuel. I saw, Honorable Speaker, the other day in our neighboring countries, I don't want to mention their names, their citizens struggling to get fuel. Here we're talking about prices, high prices, which is of course something that we need to work on, but there are some quotas, there are some countries that do not even have a liter of fuel. So I want to appreciate the efforts made by the government to avail fuel to our economy, because without fuel, we will have a bigger problem. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and ask my committee member, Honorable Kibet Komingoi, to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, as I stand to second this motion, it is no doubt, Honorable Speaker, that there are disruptions in commodities and in fuel supply in the whole world, and in particular the sections of our continent. There is no doubt, Honorable Speaker, that these disruptions has caused increase in fuel prices and also availability in parts of other African nations. There is no doubt, Honorable Speaker, that these rises and this price increase will also cause increase in other goods and other related products that use fuel as part of its production process. But the question we will ask ourselves, Madam Speaker, is what will we grapple with as a nation? Should we be concerned more about shortage of fuel or availability of fuel at a premium price? The question that we'll always need to ask ourselves is how do we run our economy and how do we maintain the production within our economy even with the disruptions that are happening within the oil sector in the country. It is no doubt that there have been also, Honorable Madam Speaker, about the strikes that have been caused by those who are directly using fuel as transportations and as a means of as a main means of their production. And the thing that we are bringing out today in this House is so that we can be able to discuss as a country and discuss as a nation what aspects of our fuel sector do we need to do. First, Honorable Speaker, is the question of investment in the oil sector. We need to increase our capacities within the oil storage systems so that we can be able to have fuel available even with the prices increasing. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, is another question of the regulations that govern the fuel pricing. The first thing that I have in mind is it possible to have more time, to be able to have more time so that we can be able to allow the public participate in any prices increases and anticipation, so that we can have, let's say, currently we have 30 days through EPRA, that EPRA must announce new prices every other month. Is it possible to have these regulations change that we can have it after every 90 days, and within the 90 days, we will be able to adequately inform Kenyans and those who are having issues, those who use fuel, to be able to prepare themselves for the shocks that are within the industry. Further, Honorable Speaker, is the question of also having the discussion that has been ongoing in the media, that we can be able to reduce RMLF funds, the levy that is currently being used and that has been securitized and committed to improving our roads, both maintaining them and developing them. The question then therefore we'll need to answer is, and the question that we'll need to ask ourselves so that we may be able to answer it is it better to have the deployment of this resource in the economy rather than using it to cushion those who only directly benefit in the prices changes and the prices of goods? So, Honorable Speaker, as I support and second this motion, these questions must come live amongst members, amongst Kenyans, and the decisions must come so that we can all contribute in deliberating whether stabilization that has been done by government through the Fuel Stabilization Fund is adequate. Two, whether the question of reducing further the levies and the taxes that have been subjected to oil and oil products is something that we need to look into. Three, whether the question also of different sources of fuel, like biofuels and the regulations that govern the biofuel usage within the country, so that we can be able to cushion Kenyans. I second, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Mics are not working and the screen is not working, so just raise your hand. Sorry? Continue, yes. What did I say? What did I say?
Honorable Janet? Okay. Yeah, let's get to Honorable John Murugara, then we'll come to Honorable Otiende, then we'll come to Ndindi.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I do thank the Honorable George Kariuki, the Member of Parliament for Ndia, and the Chairperson of the Transport Committee, for this timely motion that comes on the first day of the resumption of Parliament to deal with important national matters, including what we would consider to be a crisis in the country. The fact that to ordinary Kenyans and to almost every Kenyan, the price of oil products, including petroleum and the other fuels, becomes unaffordable. It is very important that we discuss as a House, because we were sent here by our voters, the citizens of this country, 55 million Kenyans, to represent them on matters as important as this. Honorable Speaker, it goes without saying that in fact the prices of petroleum products, the oil products, have actually drastically gone up. And we have various reasons that are being given which are truthful, and some of them cannot be disputed. The first one is that the war that is in the Far East between Iran and the US, and the closing of that strait where ships carrying oil do pass, has led to inflated prices of oil products, as a result of which pump prices in the country have also gone up. So whether we like it or not, we have to face this as reality. It's important I let this country know that some while ago I was in the UK and was privileged to visit the House of Commons. And the entire Wednesday, which is the Prime Minister's question time, in the morning, the questions that members were asking is how the UK can deal with increasing oil prices. So it is not just in Kenya where this is being experienced. It is countrywide. Even those countries that have the lowest prices, those prices have actually gone up. Therefore, as we debate, we cannot distance ourselves away from the rest of the country. It is reality. We must take it. We must have it. And therefore, we must explain to our citizens, to our fellow Kenyans, what exactly is the cause of the inflated high fuel prices. The second reason that is given is that in our country, we do have many, many levies and taxes that are put on oil products. And there may be evidence regarding this. It may be true, but we must also debate, because not long time ago, we have taken the time and the energy to ensure that we deal with the laws and regulations that reduce taxes on oil products. And recently, we had the reduction moving from 16% to 8% of VAT. That is a positive act for which this House should be commended. Number two, we have also made attempts to subsidize oil products so that the prices on our pumps can also come down and our citizens are able to afford those oil products. And this is what was done recently. There was a slight reduction. It may have been marginal, but the truth is there was a reduction. So as we debate today, is there anything we can do about the war in the Gulf states? We may not do anything about that, but we can do something when it comes to considering the levies and taxes that are actually put on these products. If there is any of them that we as a House can interfere with by bringing it down to lower the prices, nothing should stop this House from doing so, but bearing in mind that we need the taxes so that we are able to develop our country, and especially the taxes on oil products which go towards development of our roads. I do support this adjournment motion and urge this House to debate it soberly so that we are able to find a solution that is going to be of benefit to the people of Kenya.
Very well. Honorable members, this adjournment motion has been moved as per Standing Order 33. Every member gets strictly 5 minutes, unless by the leave of the House. Honorable Karoli.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this important matter. A very clear example, a very clear proof that Kenya is doing something wrong when it comes to managing its petroleum imports is the fact that when you look at our prices, Kenya is actually an outlier in the region. And this is so notwithstanding the fact that Kenya has several advantages that should make its oil products more affordable. We have geographical access to the sea, we have better petroleum infrastructure, we have more oil multinationals, we have better storage and pipeline infrastructure. Nonetheless, as of today, the inflation has climbed to 5.6, largely due to high cost of fuel. The economy has had to absorb about 20 billion shillings in 2 months over increased cost of fuel, and the economic growth forecast has actually been revised downwards to about 5%. And if you look at the prices, let me just give the House some comparisons. In Kenya, petrol is 214.25, diesel is 232.92. In Uganda, petrol is actually 200. While diesel is 199, equivalent of Kenya shillings. In Tanzania, petrol is 190, diesel is 189. Rwanda, petrol is 230, diesel is actually 225. And Ethiopia, I will not want to use that data because it is heavily subsidized. But if you look at the global comparison, on average, the global price of petrol per liter is about equivalent of 188 Kenya shillings, while global average for diesel is about 204 per liter. While in Kenya, as I've said, is 214 for petrol, which is 13.6% higher than the global average, and diesel at 232, which is about 17% higher than the global average. That clearly demonstrates that there's something Kenya is doing wrong. And Honorable Speaker, it is important that we understand what is wrong that we are doing. There's this animal we call G2G, which was introduced about 3 years ago for fuel imports. It lacks transparency. It has not secured competitive prices. What the experts will tell you, better market price discovery. Why? When you import oil, there's an item called premium. Premium is where the competition is. That is where the suppliers compete. Under the G2G framework, which was not fully disclosed to this House for interrogation, the premium was fixed at $110 per ton. That premium in global markets fluctuates. It's like the rate of exchange or exchange control, foreign exchange. In our case, it has been fixed for 3 years at $110 per ton. The global average for premium has been $60 per ton, meaning Kenya is paying over $50 more per ton. The regional average has been about $80 per ton, but ours has been fixed at 110. That is where the theft is. That is where Kenyans are being squeezed and are being conned on oil prices. And it is time to audit the G2G framework and to revise it and make better price discovery possible by allowing competition on what is called premium. If we don't do that, then we are conning Kenyans, and we have been doing it for 3 years. It is now time to call a spade and say the G2G has created a non-competitive market for oil procurement in this country, and it is time to audit and revise it. Secondly, the off-takers under the G2G framework is Gulf Oil, which is a small oil marketing company without the necessary wherewithal to bring into the market the place of better infrastructure, better storage, and the rest of them. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, we are making a big mistake. The President on the ministers should not talk about oil prices. There's an independent regulator. One of the cardinal principles is independence of the regulator. We should leave these matters to EPRA to deal with them as an independent regulator. Going forward, we now need to agree to remove VAT completely in the short term, petroleum development levy completely, agree on how to establish strategic petroleum reserves by using either local tankerage facilities or offshore, where when prices are low, we buy. But most importantly, we need to allow the regulator to review the prices more frequently. Instead of the 30-day turnaround, we could do it within 14 days, so that when the price benefits, the consumer...
Complete.
The consumers may enjoy the benefits of lower prices. And finally, Madam Speaker, and thank you for giving me the extra 30 seconds, we need to diversify our sources of supply and routes. Not just strictly Strait of Hormuz. We can get oil from around the world if we use sophisticated means of trading. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. But G2G...
And the other way around, an opposition that is in government. We have leadership on both sides, on the government and the opposition, singing the same choir, Honorable Speaker. Who will stand in for Kenya's Honorable Speaker if we don't fill up the gap, Honorable Speaker? We must do what we must, Honorable Speaker, because the current situation...
Order, Member for Kiaru. Honorable Member for Suna
Speaker,
East. What is out of order?
What's out of order, Madam Speaker, is I want to educate my younger brother that there is no opposition in Parliament. What we have in Parliament is majority side and minority side. And every member, in accordance with the Constitution, is supposed to hold the executive accountable. You don't expect the minority to do, you don't have to be a minority to hold the government accountable. Even the majority where you belong, that is why nowadays you are talking the way you are talking.
You've made your point,
So, Madam Speaker, no, let me finish.
It is
Madam
more
Speaker, the second
order. It is more of a point of information, not point of order. What is out of order?
The manner in which the member has spoken about how to call for a special sitting of the House. Madam Speaker, that matter is well articulated in the standing orders.
That
you
has
can't form
been
your own
dealt
standing
with.
order.
Order,
And
members. Honorable members, the Speaker already gave a ruling, and the member for Kiaru has been guided accordingly, because that issue has been dealt with. Honorable Karoli, there is no one on the floor. You cannot be possibly on a point of order. Member for Kiaru.
Honorable Speaker, I want to request Honorable Junet. An ignorant member cannot inform the House. I need no information from you. I know what I'm talking about. Honorable Speaker, the second point.
Honorable members.
Honorable Speaker.
Can we debate in decorum, honorable members?
I never asked for any information.
In decorum. There is no one on the floor so far. Honorable members, I'll indulge honorable member for Magarini, but honorable members, let us debate in decorum. It is important. I will give you. And you do not need to throw words to the speaker. Honorable members, I can hear you. Member for Magarini.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, is the honorable member for Kiharu, Ndini Nyoro, in order to call an honorable member of this House ignorant? Is he in order to refer to an honorable member as
you
being
have made your point. And member for Kiharu, you certainly know the rules of this House. You know what is parliamentary, what is not parliamentary. Do not throw aspersions to your colleagues.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Can I continue?
Let me hear the member for Kiharu first.
Yeah. I'm doing my submissions, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and I hope those minutes are not eating into my time, Honorable Speaker. The second thing, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Kiharu.
I want to...
Member for Kiharu, a point of order has been raised on you calling a member ignorant. I certainly agree with the honorable member that you cannot possibly call a member ignorant. So I will ask you to, please don't assist me, honorable members. Do not assist me. Honorable member for Kiharu, the specific issue on ignorant, you will withdraw it.
Honorable Speaker, I never called any member ignorant. I said the information he was giving me was not sufficient enough to be an information, Honorable Speaker.
I'll give majority leader, then I'll give a minority whip.
Honorable Speaker,
I'll give you.
Honorable Speaker, you know, I had retreated to my office to attend to other business, but I had to come back quickly when I had the member for Kiharu cast aspersions on the person of the Speaker. Because you do not need to name anybody by name. But what you say could be casting aspersions, and I thank you, Honorable Speaker, because you guided the member that he cannot and he must never cast aspersions on the Speaker or any other honorable member. Two, Honorable Speaker, the issue raised by the minority leader was not, you can rise on a point of information to inform the member who is on his feet. The member for Kiharu was not being informed. The leader of minority stood on a point of order and was speaking to the House. Therefore, the member for Kiharu has no choice other than to withdraw that reference, and he does not need to have mentioned a name, because if you ask for respect, you must also have the temerity to respect other people.
You have made your point,
And I know you are my younger brother. Listen to my advice. I'm only advising you. If you want to go far, learn to respect other people to earn your respect back. You do not. Honorable Speaker, I was saying, Honorable Speaker, through you to the member for Kiharu. When another member raises in his place to inform the House on anything, whether it's on a point of order or a point of information, just be patient. The member for Kiharu this afternoon asked the House that we must, something I agree with him fully, we must allow dissenting opinions. That is why this is a chamber for debate. This is not a church where we sing choruses. But saying the person who was informing is ignorant or is... The Honorable Junet was not informing you. Junet informs more serious legislators.
You have made your point, Millie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro has indicated that he did not use the word ignorant. And I think you can prove that from the House. Even when you are disagreeing with other members, you must disagree respectfully. Because, Madam Speaker, there's a lot that we can say if we were to go that direction. Madam Speaker, if Honorable Ndindi remembers when we were in the Budget Committee, I told him, wade carefully in this House. One day you might find yourself not as the chair of budget and with me as the chair of budget before this parliament ends. Mr. Speaker, the only wrong thing I got was it's not me who's chair of budget, but he's sitting as non-chair of budget, and Atandi is the chair of budget. So I just want to encourage you, my brother, we've been there, done that, got a t-shirt. Even when you are debating, respect other honorable members. And Madam Speaker would call that we check. If indeed he called Honorable Junet ignorant, he needs to apologize so that is purged. Because his constituents did not elect him because he's ignorant. That's not up to
No member is ignorant. I'm with you, Honorable Millie. Junet?
Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, first, this is a House of Record. I stood up on a point of order. I did not request you to give me a point of information. Because Honorable Ndindi is one of the least people I can inform, Madam Speaker, because we don't have that relationship of informing each other. But I was standing on a point of order to bring to your attention, and you asked me twice, what is your point of order? Twice on record. And I told you one is about the issue of how to recall the House for a special sitting, because he was disputing what the substantive speaker had said. Secondly, was the issue of there's an issue I raised with him about what were some of the issues he raised. Now he has turned the whole thing that I'm informing him. Why should I inform him? I don't come from Kiaru. Why should I inform you? And
Honorable
I don't intend to live in Kiaru.
I have heard all of you. And the one thing I agree with is what Majority Leader and all of you have said. We must maintain decorum in this House. We do not have to all agree, by the way. But Member for Kiharu, on one thing that I will fault you, is that I heard you clearly say an ignorant member. I will want you to withdraw that on record, and then you can proceed and we can hear the rest of your submission.
Honorable Speaker, I would require that we actually check on the Hansard kindly, because I also recall I was insinuating on what he said, not the person, Honorable Speaker. And clearly, as you actually ruled yourself, Honorable Speaker, the member was out of order, Honorable Speaker. But for the continuity, because you are executing a very important issue, I withdraw, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, going forward.
I ordered withdrawal, not apology.
Yes.
Go on, Honorable Member for Kiharu.
Honorable Speaker, my proposal is as follows. If we check the landing cost of both super petrol and diesel in Kenya, Honorable Speaker, taxes in terms of petrol account for 74 shillings and diesel account for close to 70 shillings, Honorable Speaker. And my proposal is simple, and the decision lies on this House. One, Honorable Speaker, is that we must make a decision now to lower pump prices, or we are going to deal with a much more sticky situation to our economy in the future. Honorable Speaker, when prices are rising, it is temporary, because the issue that is there globally is temporal. But there are decisions we can make that will affect our economy in the next many months to come, Honorable Speaker. Some of the variables of the economy, for example, take one, like fares. When we raise the prices of fuel, commensurate, the fares go up. But Honorable Speaker, even when the global oil prices will be going down in the next few months, Honorable Speaker, it will be highly unlikely that you are going to realize the downward trend in terms of fares. Because some of these economic variables are sticky in terms of coming down. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'll be appearing before Budget Committee and Finance to give these proposals. One, in the next 6 months, that we exempt fuel products from VAT, that is, we exempt the 8% that is there. Honorable Speaker, that you bring the cost in terms of pump by 15 shillings and 17 shillings respectively in terms of diesel and petrol. Secondly, is that, Honorable Speaker, we bring down RMLF by Kenya shilling 7. Honorable Speaker, these are not all the taxes. RMLF is 25 shillings. I'm just proposing 7. Honorable Speaker, the other thing does not require even us to debate. And that is, we lower the margins of the importers and the people involved in the oil business. And I'm proposing 4 shillings. Because, Honorable Speaker, it used to be 12 shillings, now it is 17 shillings. And the last proposal, Honorable Speaker, is that we invoke the money we already have in the Fuel Stabilization Fund so that we subsidize diesel further, Honorable Speaker. And if we do all these things, Honorable Speaker, the pump price will be around 187 shillings, Honorable Speaker, for petrol and diesel. Honorable Speaker, some people then are arguing, how are we going to recover the shortfall in terms of the revenues that are put forth? Honorable Speaker, we will go to the expenditure side, and that is why I'll be appearing before the Budget Committee. The kind of largesse we see in government, this is now the time to cut the flesh. It is the time to cut the fat. That the big offices that are currently enjoying huge budgets, Honorable Speaker, political budgets, it is now time, Honorable Speaker, we scale down on those expenditures for the sake of Kenyans, because we may tell Kenyans to tighten the belts, but Kenyans have no more belts to tighten, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Kiharu, you have 2 minutes.
The other thing, Honorable Speaker, that we have to be aware of, we can talk about global oil prices. It is fine. In 2022, a barrel of oil in May was around $120 per barrel. Now we are talking at around $90 per barrel as of today. Global oil prices were higher in 2022 than now. But now, the pump prices are higher than 2022. There is one denominator in there, Honorable Speaker. It is an animal called G to C. Government to cartels, Honorable Speaker, but we like calling it G to G, Honorable Speaker. On the side of the vendors, we have government representing their countries. Saudi Aramco is a government entity. ADNOC is a government entity. Here in Kenya, what we did around that time of G to G, instead of pumping up our NOC, National Oil Corporation, Honorable Speaker, we did the unfathomable. We actually give it the last dose and finished it, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, currently, the government of Saudi Arabia and the government of UAE in that G2G. On this other side, they are dealing with a cartel which is milking Kenya's Honorable Speaker of their money. That there are people currently smiling out of profits
Majority
when the
Leader.
Kenyan people, Honorable Speaker, are having paid in the
Honorable Speaker, I didn't want to interrupt the member for Kiharu, but you know these are House of Records, and the Honorable member for Kiharu pretends that G2G is not G2G, is G to C, and says it is government to cartels. This House and the country would benefit more from the member for Kiharu if he would substantiate and inform this House who are these cartels, because he seems to know them. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the member pretends that global oil prices were high in 2022. It would also be important for him to let the country know what was the cost of freight then, and was the Strait of Hormuz open then and today? Because you just need to have a good analysis of the landed costs of fuel today. And you will see that part of what is bedeviling the global economy, not the Kenyan economy, is the cost of freight. The same way, even airlines today are having to detour, take longer routes, and take a hit on their profits.
You've made
And
your
some
point.
park in their vehicles.
Majority Leader.
Their equipment.
You've made your point. Let Honorable Member for Kiharu respond and finish.
Honorable Speaker, in response, just to make it very clear to all of us, the fuel from Saudi Arabia does not pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So let us not keep on misinforming Kenyans in looking for short solutions, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, I beseech you, my brothers and sisters, today, we have many times stood in terms of where we are politically. There is now a test before us, and I call upon all of us, let us stand on the side of Kenyans for once, Honorable Speaker. There is something this House can do in terms of
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's true. Kenyans are going through a hard time, especially the lower household families, because of this tragedy. It's also true that we should be aware that we are in a global village, that anything that happens in this part of the global village will affect us. The arrangement of our oil import, which is also true that we import all refined petroleum products to this country. And they tend to pass through this Strait of Hormuz, which is never straight again because of the conflict in the Middle East. Madam Speaker, that small passage measuring 30 to 39 kilometers handles 1 million barrels of oil a day. And that is the source of our problem. Now, I would just encourage all of us, when there is crisis in the country, our citizens, the common wananchi, looks upon us how we can solve them. And what seems to be missing today, Madam Speaker, is communication. That's why I'm proud of CS John Mbadi, what he was doing at Jivanji Garden today. Letting people ask questions as responding to them so that they can understand what is going on. We had it in COVID-19, and we passed through that, and many crises will come, and the people of Kenya will depend on us in order to intervene in one way or the other. The effort of the government, which they have done so far, It's okay, but we need to do more. How do we do more if we don't support what the government is doing? And if we branch to politicizing the interventions, then we make it even worse. The lowering of taxes, yes. Subsidies, yes. But I think the long term, which we should always be aspiring to do, is to have alternative energy source, the solar and all this, the wind, so that when crisis hit like that, does not paralyze the operation of the country. Madam Speaker, in closing, I want to urge my fellow parliamentarians on what we have just gone through here, talking about decorums and how we shout to each other. And it's not auguring well. We are honorable members, and I feel if there's a message or an opinion to be conveyed, we have to do it with decorum. Lastly, I want to say that let's retreat to our constituents or constituencies and try to do the best we can, including urging the government to give food subsidy to the people. Because right now the production is up, the food prices are up, because they are all based on this kind of energy that we have for their productions. So in other countries, they have done that. All the lower family members have access to a card to food subsidy so that the family members can keep on in their help. But lastly, I disagree with this doctrine of comparison. Each country has different ways of dealing with things and different factors that really drive prices. So we take a lot of time comparing ourselves with this Uganda, Tanzania. Let's deal with our problems as Kenyans and have a solution. In fact, if you go there, you will find a different scenario. There is no common denominator for all that we go through every day as a country in comparison with that. With that, I urge our members, please communicate to our constituents. Let's support the government to deal with this. Only we have government once in a lifetime, once in per session, live for any live parliament. So let's support the government to deal with this. Let's give ideas, as I have heard from other members here, so that we can have an amicable solution to what is going on. Politics will not solve this problem. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this matter. Madam Speaker, from the onset, I want to say that I sympathize and empathize with the difficulties the Kenyans are going through. It is true that this rise in fuel prices, Madam Speaker, has put a lot of burden on Kenyans, Madam Speaker, both at home and even in their workplace, Madam Speaker, and has put a strain on their pocket, Madam Speaker. So I empathize, and we must come up with a solution. For a fact, the common denominator is that we must come with a solution on this matter. But having said, Madam Speaker, what worries me, because I really want a solution to this problem, because that is our job, and that is why we are members of this House, Madam Speaker, because we are supposed to deal with matters of concern to the people. That's our main mandate. So, Madam Speaker, I feel that this is the right moment for us to engage on this matter soberly and in a manner that does not politicize the issue, and we don't do it in a manner that we want to score politically. Having said, Madam Speaker, what worries me now is when I see people suddenly becoming clever, Madam Speaker. You become suddenly clever that now you know everything. Madam Speaker, why do I say so that? Why do I say so? I want someone to tell me on the floor of this House, before this war of the Middle East happened, before there was a war in the Middle East between Iran and Israel and the United States, what was the situation? Because people now want to deny the fact that this is a global problem. They want to make it a Kenyan problem, Madam Speaker. Before the war happened, was there any problem in the fuel system in this country, Madam Speaker? The answer is no. What has brought this problem is after the war is when, Madam Speaker, everyone had his own time to speak on issues. Let us be given time. Madam Speaker, I was not brought this house by someone. I was brought here by my constituents. Madam Speaker.
Address the
Yeah, I'm addressing. Those interruptions. Madam Speaker, I am saying before the war happened, there was no problem with the fuel. Now it's a fact that it is the global problem that has affected this country. Number two, Madam Speaker, there's these sweeping statements people make. Oh, Uganda is cheaper in fuel. Oh, Tanzania is cheaper in fuel. That's a very tired narrative in this country that we should stop using. Why do I say so? How do I qualify that? Madam Speaker, our economies are different. The amount of debt that this country has is not the same as the debt Uganda has. It's not the same the debt Tanzania has. And some of the people who have put this debt to this country are the ones speaking here. They were once the chairs of committees, of budget committee. I asked them on this floor, and it's on record. It's on record. I asked them on this floor, why are you allowing the government to borrow more then? They told me, my friend, look at Japan. They have borrowed 100% of their GDP. Look at America. They have borrowed 200% of their GDP. Look at Singapore. They have borrowed. I was that time still in the minority. Today, they're not talking about that. Now they're saying you must reduce your taxes. How do you reduce your tax when you have committed to this country 10 trillion shillings by the time you're leaving office? Madam Speaker, let's call a spade a spade. Why we are paying more taxes as a country is because we have more debts than Uganda, we have more debts than Tanzania. If we reduce our debts, give us a formula of how to reduce our debts, our taxes will come down. Secondly, Madam Speaker, you are saying that I want this fuel levy removed from that in form of taxes. I want VAT removed. Very good. Those are sweeping statements. You want me to reduce, Madam Speaker, I've not even spoken. The issue is, tell me where I am a leader. I am not any other member from Gwasi or somewhere.
Do not, you are actually wasting your time.
Madam Speaker, I'm saying, you are telling me to remove fuel levy by 7 shillings, VAT by 8 shillings, by 8%. Madam, you are not telling me where I'm going to raise that revenue from. You are just saying there is largesse in government. No, as a good economist, the way you are trying to portray yourself, you should tell me, remove these taxes, and this is where you will raise the revenue from. In specific places. I want to go to the issue of G2G, Madam Speaker. Can this House be told what was the situation in this country before G2G came? We were queuing for fuel in petrol stations, Madam Speaker, you remember. We were walking with jerrycans in our vehicles, Madam Speaker. There was no fuel in any station in this country. When President Uhuru Kenyatta was leaving office, there was no fuel in any petrol station, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I had guided when we started the debate that this is under Standing Order 33. It is limited to 5 minutes, but allow me to use my discretion to give 5 more minutes to Honorable Junet and 10 minutes to the majority leader.
Madam Speaker, thank you
But
very
the
much.
rest of you, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much for your indulgence. Madam Speaker, what was the situation when G2G was brought to this country? There was no fuel in this country. Prices were high, Madam Speaker. The dollar was at 160 something, Madam Speaker. There are 180 oil marketing companies in this country. All those 100 and something oil marketing companies were buying dollars at the same time to buy fuel, Madam Speaker, fuel supplies. What was happening? There was scramble for dollar in this country. And now the dollar strengthened and the Kenyan shilling was losing, Madam Speaker. Let us appreciate the gains we have made from G2G, Madam Speaker. You can call it G2C, G2D, G2Y, whatever you want. The fact of the matter, I am not here to defend Gulf Oil Company, Madam Speaker. But when you go do research on Gulf Oil Company, Madam Speaker, the fact remains that Gulf Oil Company has been in the oil business for the last 20 years, Madam Speaker. It was not registered because of the G2G. Gulf Oil Company was operating as an oil company in this country in 2009, 2008, 2009, 10. They were the ones even who were winning the OTC even that time. The open tender system, the people who, one of the companies that used to win and supply fuel the whole country was Gulf Oil Company. All that is in record, Madam Speaker. We cannot deny facts, Madam Speaker. You may have problem with the owner. You may want to extort something from him. You want money from him. That is a different matter, Madam Speaker. But the fact that will remain is that Gulf Oil Company has been an oil marketer in this country for the last 20 years. It has been there during Kibaki's time. It has been there during Uhuru's time. And it will be there during Ruto's time. And it will be there when I become president, God willing, which I'm foreseeing in the near future. Madam Speaker, I want to say this. Let us not politicize things just because we want to incite Kenyans. It is true Kenyans are suffering. I acknowledge that we have to do something to alleviate that suffering from Kenyans. But let's do it in a honest manner. Let's not do it in a way that you think you can score politically. You want to portray the broad-based government in black because you think you can win an election. This could be a temporary issue. I don't know what you're going to say in 2 months' time when this war ends and prices come down. If you are telling me it is because of the premium, the way some prophets here are talking about it, why was it cheaper than before the war? It is what the majority leader is saying. What has gone up is freight, Madam Speaker. That is what is making the oil expensive today, because insurances, freight have gone up because of the war. Somebody is telling me that the oil of Kenya does not pass through the port of the Strait of Hormuz. When have you become an escort of a ship coming to Kenya? That you know now it doesn't pass Hormuz, it passes Hormuz, it passes I don't know which country. My friends, the fact of the matter is we are not an oil-producing company. Neither even do we have a refinery like Nigeria. We buy from international market. And even today, you know, people who don't watch international news also, who don't watch what is happening globally, have a problem. Even there is a problem of fuel in the United States of America that is producing fuel. Let us not lie to Kenyans. Let us not incite them. Let us come with a solution that can help them. Madam Speaker, one of the solutions I want to propose, I don't want to be, general like my colleagues. This transport industry that has been affected heavily by the fuel prices, Madam Speaker, majority of them have loans that they pay. They have borrowed from banks. Just like the COVID time, we need to speak to the financial, companies, the banks, to freeze their interest for the time being, to freeze their loans, so that there's nothing to declare here. I'm not a conman like you, Bana. You are Bana. Keep quiet, Bana. I don't want to engage you.
Honorable Junet, focus.
Madam Speaker, it is high time we allow the matatus. And I've come to realize Kenyans need to diversify even in these matatu things. Because there are people who have used it politically of late, I can see. We allow the matatu industry to be, the financial companies, the banks, to allow the matatu industries to give them moratorium in terms of payments of their interest and loans. Madam Speaker, if we are truly leaders, as we call ourselves, let us not come here to posture politically. Let us give solutions that can advance the country, that can make our country better, that can make our country look good. Madam Speaker, I don't benefit in any way by paying higher prices for fuel. It doesn't pay, I'm actually in the transport.
You've made your point, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to support this motion. And Honorable Speaker, as I begin, as I said earlier, this is a time that calls for leadership. The easiest thing for us to do as politicians is political posturing, saying and speaking to the gallery, saying all manner of pleasantries that we think will excite our supporters, and that which sounds good to the people, but may not be true. And I say that, Honorable Speaker, because when we make proposals here, as members of parliament, we must not make proposals that simply speaks to the gallery. And that is what I see with some of our colleagues, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is the house that is charged with the responsibility of making budgets. And we all know, including those of us like myself, who have had the privilege to serve as chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and I speak this from a point of authority, Speaker, because I served for 2 years, almost 2 years, before I was fired, as the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Honorable Speaker, you remember then the Honorable Junaid saying that even as we fire Honorable Ijongwa. He was the best chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And my record still speaks for itself, Honorable Speaker. And never a time when I served as chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, after I was removed, unfairly so, Honorable Speaker, there is not a single moment I stood on the floor of this House to speak against matters that I had prosecuted as a chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Never. And I will never do that because I make conscious decisions as a leader. I don't make decisions to excite and please people out there to praise you as the greatest of all times. You may think you are the greatest of all times as you move around with lecture notes, only to come and realize it ends up in premium tiers when the people discover you are lying to them. Because when you tell us that we can reduce VAT, we can do away with VAT, you know, as a member of this House, that whatever you give, something else must give in. It will translate either to reduced capitation for our secondary school and primary school students. It will translate to either lower funding for university students. It will translate to lower budgetary allocations for our healthcare workers and our healthcare system. It will translate to a slowdown of our economy, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, even as we make proposals, Honorable Speaker, I want to identify myself with some of the proposals that have been made by the Honorable Junet, that it is possible, and I liked what the governor for Nairobi said in the press conference last week, that it is possible to plead, because these are not normal times. During the COVID pandemic, our financial services sector came up and rose to the occasion and extended moratoriums on loans to people who are affected by the COVID pandemic. This is such a time. There is no other sector in this country that is making more money in terms of profits than the financial services sector, and I'm speaking to banks and the bank owners. If you are able to extend moratoriums on interest and penalties for late payment of loans to those in the hospitality sector who are confronted with the pandemic in 2019-2020, it is possible today for our banking sector to extend the same moratorium to our transport sector players. And I'm not talking about matatus alone and buses. I'm talking about truck owners and truck drivers who transport goods, including the food we eat in Nairobi and other urban areas from our rural areas. They need a reprieve. Many of these people, we must empathize with them because they have taken up loans to buy the assets that they are using, and we must ask and urge the financial services sector, our banks, to extend a moratorium on interest like they did during the COVID pandemic, because this is wartime. And wartime economies cannot operate the same way as peacetime economies operate. I've had a member here pretend, oh, global oil prices per barrel were lower in 2022 than they are today. True. But be honest as a leader. Tell the people that what you tell them, that Saudi oil never goes through the Strait of Hormuz, is a plain lie. In Saudi, to the east, take their oil, most of them, almost 80 to 90% of the oil fields in Saudi take their crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Number two, be honest. Tell the Kenyan people, it is true, cost per barrel in 2022 was lower, but what is affecting us as a country is that we do not have an oil refinery. We killed Changamwe Oil Refinery in the earlier years, before this administration, in the Kibaki days. But today, Honorable Speaker, we import not crude oil. So if crude oil per barrel is cheaper, ask yourself, where do you refine your oil? If you are refining your oil, for instance, in Bahrain, the oil refinery in Bahrain was bombed. What does that do to the cost of the refined fuel that we import, because we import refined fuel into this country? Therefore, Honorable Speaker, what should this motion be doing? This motion is not an opportunity for people to come and posture here, wannabe opposition leaders,
like those who are attempting to interrupt me now. Honorable Speaker, they have not temerity to listen to the truth, because the truth stands firm, Honorable
Order,
Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, there is nothing that I've said that is out of order.
Honorable Karoli,
Yes,
what
Honorable
is out
Speaker,
of order?
I don't think the Honorable Member is not in order to mislead not just the House, but the nation.
What is out of order?
His explanation that the closure of the Kenya petroleum refineries has led to increase in the cost of fuel in Kenya. It is the opposite. Kenya, when we had the KPRL, was importing 70% white
Honorable
oil.
Karoli.
So it is
Honorable,
wrong.
order,
It is wrong.
order.
What is trying,
I am trying to also listen to you. I had you debate and you gave your point of view. Allow the honorable member to also debate. Unless something is totally out of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable
for the protection,
Majority
because
Leader.
the member is on debate and he had his time. If he can just have the temerity and the patience to listen to me, educate him a bit, just a bit. I may not have the ability to educate him on everything. But Honorable Speaker, I was talking about the price of crude oil. We do not import crude oil into this country. We import refined product or processed product, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, if we have seen refineries being bombed, what does that tell you in simple economics, in the law of demand and supply, Honorable Speaker? We have been told, Honorable Speaker, oh, the price of oil in Ethiopia is much lower. I must thank Citizen TV and the journalist called Alex Chamwada. They did a very good piece showing us as the people of Kenya how fortunate we are that we entered into the G2G arrangement. That ensures today we are not short of supply. Honorable Speaker, if we wanted to be populist, it is very easy. Cut down the supply of diesel, for instance. If you are consuming 2 million liters of diesel in a day, cut it by half. Use what we have been told as a fuel subsidy. You have so many billions of subsidy. Use that money to subsidize a lower supply of fuel. And that is what many people are doing today. That is why you will see queues and queues, long queues of vehicles.
What is out of
because
order?
they are chasing a smaller amount of product.
Honorable Nyoro, what is out of order?
My point of order, Honorable Speaker, is on the honesty that we need to debate, to have in this debate. That you are very quick to give examples of Ethiopia and Burundi when it's convenient. Why can't we use the examples that are there of a country like Uganda,
Member
which
for
transports
Kiharu.
fuel through Kenya?
Order. Member for Kiharu, I had Honorable Karoli give examples and there are points of debates. Allow members to give examples as they deem fit to fit their
Honorable
submission.
Speaker, thank you again, Honorable Speaker. I told you these people have no patience because the truth at times becomes very bitter and painful. But let me take you to Uganda, Honorable Speaker, because that is the point I was on. It is possible for us, if you wanted to be populist today, to cut down the supply of diesel, for instance, use the resources, because you subsidize fuel per liter. Therefore, if you are subsidizing, say, 2 million liters of diesel being consumed every day, just cut supply by half to 50%, then do what they are doing in some countries. Make the fuel very cheap, but unavailable. What does that do to our economy? Those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves as leaders. Because I can stand here, Honorable Speaker, and pontificate all manner of goodies and sweet nothings, but they will not help this economy. What we need to look at is how do we chew gum and scale the stairs at the same time, Honorable Speaker. And we must not look at this thing from a short-term perspective, Honorable Speaker. We must look at it in the short term, medium term, and long term. And long term, Honorable Speaker, is what government has done through the National Infrastructure Fund. We must begin devoting resources to ensure that we have adequate resources to generate power and transmit that power. So that what? So that we are able to move to e-mobility, the electric vehicles that we are talking about here. Because we move to e-mobility today, as Honorable KJ is telling me, but do we have the power to be able to charge these cars? That is why the National Infrastructure Fund, and I must thank President William Ruto. As much as all these people will shout at him, he has remained true to the cause and focused on what needs to be done to transform this country. And he has done that amidst all this noise and shouting and insults. But with the National Infrastructure Fund, we can develop adequate power to be able to have resources, power resources to charge our electric mobility sector. We must also look at long-term solutions on supply optionality. We have seen that war in one area can completely disrupt our economies. Therefore, we must have supply optionality to look at ways where we can get supplies, whether it's from West Africa or from other areas and other far-flung corners like the US also. But I also agree with Honorable Junet. I was speaking to my nephew last night, and he was telling me now fuel in the US is more expensive than in Kenya, despite them being an oil-producing country. And I don't want to mention Venezuela and what they did in Venezuela, because they are a friendly nation. And I know many Kenyans will tell you, don't compare us with America. Don't compare us with the developed world. They have more disposable income. That is why, as responsible leaders, we must protect your disposable income from further degradation if we allow your economy to go down, while we to follow some of these populist things you are being told here. Because if you do not have money on VAT for school capitation, that will mean parents will have to pay for school fees, higher school fees. That further eats to their disposable income, Honorable Speaker. As a nation, Honorable Speaker, and I'm saying this looking at the long term and the medium term, it is inexcusable and indefensible that over the last few decades, we have allowed our country to operate without strategic oil reserves. It's inexcusable, understandable, but indefensible. In the future, we must make sure that the government of Kenya devotes resources to make sure that we have strategic national reserves for oil. If we had strategic oil reserves in this country today, we would be using the oil that was purchased when it was cheaper now to balance out with what we are getting and have moderate prices. These are solutions from leaders. I spoke about diversified sourcing, Honorable Speaker. We must diversify our sourcing of fuel. The Strait of Hormuz, Honorable Speaker, I've heard someone say, oh, all the oil does not pass through the oil of Hormuz. Where the refineries are, you must go through the Strait of Hormuz. Fact of life. But anybody being dishonest and populist will not want people to know that. I dare say the unpopular, but the right thing. I dare propose to this House.
Let me add you 1 minute. Conclude.
I was saying, Honorable Speaker, I dare say to this House that as leaders, we are dealing with wartime style of logistics around the world in the global supply chain. We cannot compare peacetime supply chain to wartime supply chain. We must be innovative. Locally, Honorable Speaker, I want to call on our financial services sector, our banks. Let us be sensitive. Let us empathize, not with the person you see as a matatu owner, but with the passenger in that matatu. Not the person you see as a farmer of maize, but the consumer of maize flour who buys that maize flour from a kiosk or from a supermarket. So that the moratorium that we extend to our matatu and transport sector owners, whether it is transporters like Honorable Junet, that Honorable Junet will be able, with his trucks, to extend the moratorium he gets from a bank to the consumer by not unreasonably increasing the transportation costs once your financing costs are rationalized. And I want to ask that part of what we should be doing today as a House and as leaders, not as politicians, is working on means and ways on how we'll help our banking sector, first, to extend those sort of moratoriums that they did during the COVID pandemic to the hospitality industry. Let us see the same. And I hope the Kenya Bankers Association, because I have seen them appear before the Finance Committee, will be speaking to some of these issues, and I want to plead with them from the floor of this House. Please, it is okay, and I say this because I'm a shareholder to one of the banks. I am willing to take no dividends from the banks that I hold shares.
Honorable member for Kikuyu, I am told by the minority whip that your girls from Alliance are waiting for you back here. So I'll wind up, please.
I was winding up, I was saying, as a shareholder to banks, Honorable Speaker, I am willing to take a lower dividend or no dividend at all to help us navigate through this wartime season. Honorable Speaker, finally, let me plead with the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, with the President of the United States of America, the most powerful nation in the world, and the Iranian state, to put the lives of the people of the world ahead of all other considerations. I pray for peace. I pray for the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz as much as I pray for our local politicians to see beyond this season, to see to it that life or the lives of Kenyans is more important than their political posturing, Honorable Speaker.
Very well.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I pray, Honorable Speaker, that as we move to the finance bill, we will see the bank owners and the Kenya Bankers Association bring in proposals on how we can help them to be able to extend some of these moratoriums to the people. And in closing, Honorable Speaker, to the government and the people of Kenya, the leaders of the people of Kenya, through the National Infrastructure Fund, let us start thinking about alternative public transportation. Let us start thinking about not just e-mobility, light rail, trams, because a railway line or a rail infrastructure will take in more passengers cheaper.
Your time is
and
up.
The rail, Honorable Speaker.
Your time is up. The next one will go to the member for Malava. Your card has been malfunctioning. Honorable Ndakwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to contribute to this important debate on the soaring of prices of fuel in our country. Mr. Speaker, the situation continues to hurt ordinary Kenyans, and especially the poor and the vulnerable members of our society. Mr. Speaker, looking at the prices on the pump, the fuel is not just a commodity. It directly affects transport, food, electricity, even the fees we pay for our kids, and almost, Mr. Speaker, sir, every basic necessity of our society.
Member for Malava, I'm definitely not sir. The speaker is definitely not sir.
Madam Speaker.
Unless you're seeing what I'm not seeing.
Madam Speaker, you pardon me. I'm used to, Honorable Wetangula, our Speaker, has been there. So, Madam Speaker, I hope you pardon me. As I continue, I'd like to say that, Madam Speaker, the burden of fuel prices going high, it is a burden that is transferred to the common mwananchi in the villages, in informal settlements in towns, and also it is a high cost that is being led to the people whom we serve, and this is the time we should rise up as people of this country, not just as politicians. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, as leaders of this House, we must move beyond lamentations.
We must also provide solutions, and they should be very practical, Madam Speaker. We are talking about economy of this country, which is a pressure being mounted on a common person. And where I come from, Malava constituency, Madam Speaker, farmers are paying more to transport their farm produce like sugarcane. They are suffering in doing their daily businesses, and they're also spending more in the operations, in the families. And it is about basic household needs. Madam Speaker, this ripple is devastating, and it is mainly transferred to the low earners. As a solution, Madam Speaker, looking at what we must measure as a house to put everything at rest and making it a continued measure to cushion Kenyans, the government should strengthen and properly utilize the fuel standardization, which stabilizes the fund to protect consumers. And this is mainly looking at the certain global risks, whereby when the calf sneezes, we as Kenyans here, we shiver, and when the Americans or USA loses its diplomacy, we are affected. Madam Speaker, such a funds should be put to correct use during these difficult times, and should not be left to be dormant at all times. Madam Speaker, we should also invest in more affordable and reliable public transport systems, because over-dependence on private transport, it is a burden to workers and traders. Madam Speaker, as a solution to Kenyans who are suffering more, this House should support policies that encourage local production. Madam Speaker, we should have renewable energy, and also, where Mheshimiwa majority said, we should have renewable alternative energy sources, where we have strategic natural reserves that will give us a long-term solution. And
Your time is up. I had already given direction, Honorable Member. Let us utilize 5 minutes so that all of you get to speak. Honorable Member for Magarini.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii nikaweze kuchangia mswada huu. Naunga mkono na kwamba ni hakika Wakenya wanahangaika. Lakini pamoja na kwamba hakika Wakenya wanahangaika, haijatupa nafasi sisi tukiwa viongozi kwamba tukaweze kutumia wakati huu kufanya siasa. Ni rahisi siasa ya kupinga. Ni rahisi siasa ya kubomoa kuliko ya kujenga. Ninavyofahamu ni kwamba kuna kila jitihada inayofanywa ili kuona kwamba bei ya mafuta imepungua, ili kila mmoja akaweze kufurahia. Lakini si kweli kwamba tutoke hapo na badala ya kuwaambia Wakenya ukweli, tuende tukawahadae, kwa sababu neno la uongo ni tamu kuliko ukweli. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninafahamu ya kwamba serikali na hususa rais yuko na mipango ya kuona ya kwamba mafuta wakati mchache ujao tutakuwa tumerudisha ule mtambo wa Changamwe. Hata kama hautajengwa Changamwe, utajengwa mahali pengine popote pale, iwe ndani ya nchi ama nje ya nchi, lakini ni mtambo ambao tutakuwa tuna utawala na ni mtambo ambao utapunguza moja kwa moja bei ya mafuta na kila mmoja atafurahia. But tunahitaji, samahani Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini tunahitaji subra. Subra ndiyo itatuletea yale mema yote ambayo tunayatarajia katika nchi hii. Lakini matamshi yetu ya hapa na pale, iwe ni matangani, iwe ni katika mikutano yetu, hiyo haitatusaidia kujenga nchi, bali itatusaidia kuibomoa nchi. Nikikumbuka vizuri 2005, ndugu yangu bahati mbaya leo hayuko hapa, ningesema hivyo hivyo atakiwa hapa. Kuna wakati mmoja alisema, ndugu yangu Kaluma alisema, hii nchi lazima watu watwangane ndio heshima ipatikane. 2007, 2008 hayo yalitokea. Heshima ilipatikana. Ni madhara ndiyo yalipatikana katika nchi hii. Hivyo basi ni wajibu wetu tukiwa viongozi tuone kwamba matamshi yetu yawe ni ya kujenga nchi. Naunga mkono pia wazo la kwamba tukaweze kuwa na hazina, tukaweze kuwa na mapipa ama matangi ambayo yatakuwa ni ya kuhifadhi mafuta kwa siku za usoni. Hiyo itaweza kutusaidia, lakini tusijilinganishe na nchi jirani, kwa sababu ukora wanaofanya kwa mafuta yao ya kupunguza bei ya mafuta, sisi tukitumia gari zetu zitaharibika. Kuna hayo makampuni ambayo huchanganya hayo mafuta ili kurudisha bei kuja chini, na hiyo itatuharibia magari. Kwa hayo machache, Mheshimiwa Spika, asante.
Asante sana. Mheshimiwa Bernard Kitur, mbunge wa Milima Nandi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to also contribute on this very important conversation, and to appreciate also the Speaker for allowing that we have this opportunity. I know Kenyans were expectant that today, when we are opening up, when resuming up the recess, this is a serious conversation that we needed to have. And I want to thank you for giving us this chance. First of all, I want to thank the government for taking the initial conversation immediately on February 28th, when we had this challenge of the problems that happened in the Gulf, and the prices spiked, and immediately the government, of course, with this great house, reduced the VAT from 16% to 8%, which obviously really assisted. And besides that, there was the utilization of the Petroleum Development Levy Fund of about 6.2 billion. And that was an immediate measure that was done. None of us expected that this was going then to take quite a long time of having the work continue. But nonetheless, we've had conversations as a country, we've had conversations as leaders of various industries, I mean the matatu industry, transport industry, and I want to thank all those Kenyans who came up for. I want to thank the leaders also in the executive who participated in this discussion. Now, Honorable Speaker, I want to encourage, and I, of course, appreciate President William Ruto, that part of the things that is proposed is that we go to have electric vehicles in our country. And for the first 100,000 vehicles, they have a window that they can be able to import some of this with reduced levies, which I think Kenyans must now use that opportunity, and also moving us into appreciating the e-space, the space that then electric vehicle space. And I want to also encourage that we also still give more support that we can have the local manufacturing around that space. Of course, someone had also suggested that let's also have the bus rapid transport system that then will carry most of us, and we reduce the utilization of too much fuel within. Also, the concerns that I think is global and real is that when you look at countries like the US and the Europe, they really have a huge power in terms of keeping this, enough reserves. In our country, we have about 20 days. Other countries do have 90 days. And in my view, I think we need to encourage also the private players that they need to have a greater power, as one of the laws, to be able to encourage all of us to be able to have enough fuel in our country. The conversation has continued in this House, Honorable Madam Speaker, And I'm really surprised also, I've had some politicians out there mention that the fuel that come to our country don't go through Strait of Hormuz. I want to teach them, because these days, it's easy. You can access all this information online. We have 3 contractors under the G2G agreement. The Saudi Aramco, which we all know, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, and the Emirates National Oil Company. Madam Speaker, when you check out, it's a fact that 96% of the oil, of the fuel from Saudi Aramco go through the Strait of Hormuz, which now definitely they had to create other channels which are more expensive to be able to have that fuel, landing here in Mombasa. Secondly, is Abu Dhabi has over 50% of their fuel also going through the same. The Emirates NOC have 96% of the liquefied natural fuel, as well as the crude fuel is 55%. So it tells you clearly that all this fuel go through Strait of Hormuz. And therefore, when there is a blockade, they have to create other ways of how to get this fuel in Mombasa. Therefore, the landing cost has gone way up. And I would be expecting that then leaders who will be speaking going into the future must be honest to Kenyans. You don't speak as it suits you. There are also facts that must be backed up on what we're talking about. Finally, I want to encourage the creation of a refinery, whether we bring in the various countries around here regionally or within Kenya, so that we be processing the crude oil, which then will be a bit cheaper here, and also look at the available places that we can be able to get oil within our country, so that then we can be able to reduce the cost of fuel. But generally, I want to appreciate the initiatives the government has been able to take so that we have fuel in our country that is affordable, and encourage also Kenyans that let's use all the other things that we are, the means that we are able to use that would reduce the utilization of oil or the costly fuel in our country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Honorable KJ. Honorable KJ is from Dagoretti.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah,
and
so
I would
Dagoretti
also,
South.
This is Dagoretti South, the great Dagoretti South constituency. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to start by just commending the members of Parliament for adjourning very serious business to discuss this very serious matter of national interest, because this is a matter that can only get solutions in the House that makes budget and in the House that is also involved in proposing taxes for this country, Madam Speaker. And as we approach this debate, Madam Speaker, my first plea would be for us as members of Parliament to be true to the mantra that calls us to the wisdom that he who comes to equity must come to equity with clean hands. In the sense that, Madam Speaker, that we as a House, is that we are the ones who are responsible for the taxes that Kenyans are faced with. We are the ones responsible even for the prices, informed by the decisions that we debate in this House as we make our budget, and no less people like even my very good friend from my alma mater, the Honorable Ndende Nyoro, who he himself served as a member and a chairperson of the Budget Committee at a time when some of the issues that we are debating today were coming to place, Madam Speaker, informing this House, Madam Speaker, and reminding ourselves that even some of the issues that speak to the cost of fuel, up to and including the RMLF, were considered and passed in his time as the chairperson of the Budget Committee, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, this speaks to the honesty that we must have as members of this House.
Honorable Ndende Nyoro. What is out of order?
I would never have wanted to interrupt Honorable KJ, but he mentioned my name adversely. And Honorable KJ has been in this parliament now going to 10 years. I think he knows better that the rules around taxation, RMLF, VAT, and no others are not the domain of the Budget Committee. Please, Honorable KJ, take time to read the standing orders, orient yourself, and I hope you can become a better member of Parliament.
Honorable Speaker, I do say this speaking to the principle
of collective responsibility, that it was in the time when Honorable Ndende Nyoro was a chairperson of budget that the RMLF came into place. And Madam Speaker, at that time, he was almost mute about this matter. So he might not have found his new voice at this time when we are debating this issue of fuel costs in this country, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, that is not what I did rise up to speak about. My point was that he who comes to equity must come to equity with clean hands, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is a time when this House must make decisions. And some of these decisions are informed by matters that go beyond the boundaries of this country, Madam Speaker. The issues that are happening internationally, up to and including the wars that are happening around the world, and even the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, do speak to the cost and prices that are happening today. But Madam Speaker, this House has to be sensitive to the members of the public in this republic, and even more so, operators who are directly affected by the rise of the cost of fuel, who are our constituents, Madam Speaker, and our business is to debate solutions, Madam Speaker, as it is informed by our mantra that we serve for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. Madam Speaker, it has to also be noted that we are at the time of budgeting. It is budgeting season for this House. That some of the reliefs that we seek, Madam Speaker, we have to say that they are considered in this budget that is coming up, Madam Speaker, and I dare say, even ahead of time, that there shall be resolutions that shall be passed by this House as we are debating this budget and passing it, that will also speak to the matters that we are considering today. Madam Speaker, it must also be noted as we are debating this issue that we are not at liberty as Kenya to compare ourselves even with our neighbors, Madam Speaker, because the situation that is affecting the world is being felt across the globe. And even as we talk about fuel prices in our neighboring countries, we must be reminded that in places where the prices are fewer, the fuel is not available, Madam Speaker. And I'm reminded of an expose that was done by the journalist called Alex Chamwada, where he was showing us as Kenyans that even that Ethiopia that we compare ourselves to itself might be having lower fuel prices, but does not have the fuel to sell, Madam Speaker. And it must be a commendation to the government that there was foresight in the arrangements that availed fuel at a time of crisis, as we are speaking today, that Kenyans, unlike our neighbors, are not queuing to get fuel, Madam Speaker, and that the last time Kenyans were queuing for fuel is at a time of the last government where prices were so high and even the remedies that were put were very punitive to Kenyans. Madam Speaker, the solutions must be found in this House, and we must start working in the direction of those solutions. Madam Speaker, we know that fuel just came about as petrol came about as fuel not more than 100 years ago. And before that, there was coal, Madam Speaker. And as we speak today, the world must start walking in a direction where we are talking about green energy, Madam Speaker. And I must commend people like Moses Nderito, he himself an industrialist and a very forward-thinking Kenyan, even with some of the things that we are seeing in innovation, up to and including the electric buses that we are seeing. But Madam Speaker, it would be unfair for me to conclude without calling upon the financial institutions and banking sector to look into this matter as a Kenyan situation that needs reprieve, even from the banks, Madam Speaker. That at a time of COVID, we saw banks moving towards cushioning Kenyans against some of the costs, Madam Speaker. And if there's a time that Kenya must call our banking sector to patriotism, that time is now, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity and call upon Kenyans to also consider forward thinking as we even put.
Your time is up. Member for Embakasi West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, right from the get-go, I want to thank the Speaker and the team that has brought this issue of fuel. Honorable Speaker, this is a very emotive issue. And even today, Honorable Speaker, when I was in one of my WhatsApp groups, I wrote that today we are reporting back to work as members of Parliament, Parliament coming back from recession. And everyone who was tagging me in that same WhatsApp group was, can you discuss fuel together with other issues? Honorable Speaker, we're talking about a war that has affected fuel prices globally. And Honorable Speaker, this issue is not new because when the Ukraine war started, fuel prices were still an issue. Honorable Speaker, it's good to note the Ukraine war has now gone on longer than the Second World War. We now have an Iran war. We don't know how long this war is going to go for. So that is something that we must bear in mind. Honorable Speaker, having learned from that, we must now anticipate what might happen, because now we know that war affects fuel prices. Palestine is a risk. We have Iraq, we have Venezuela, we have Cuba. All these countries, there is a risk that there could be a further war, maybe with the US or one of the partners of the US. So that is a risk that we must put in mind. Honorable Speaker, we must remember that tariffs are always affecting fuel prices. Sanctions that every day are always issued now and then. The economic trends, the global economic trends, scarcity as well, and that could be an issue in the future because we do know that oil fields in various countries, Dubai and other areas, we've seen them drying up. Honorable Speaker, the US dollar, how the rate goes up and down. We're not stranger to what happened in 2022, where the US dollar affected us. Honorable Speaker, disease. You know, we shut down the country just about 6 years ago because of COVID. We must accept there's an Ebola crisis just across the border. Honorable Speaker, there's still hantavirus, which had marooned a number of foreign citizens somewhere, and they're still being treated, and who knows what could happen. So these issues, Honorable Speaker, we must be alive to them, that they will always be there. And once we accept that they will always be there, then it moves us to the next step. Well, Honorable Speaker, we look at, right now, we have a G2G deal. And Honorable Speaker, I'll submit to you that this deal was more built on supply rather than looking at price. So at the very beginning, it looked like a very good deal. But having even listened to even some of the people who've contributed, is that we can see that there is a problem with this G2G deal. And if it cannot respond to the issue of price, then it is a bad deal. And we must consider getting rid of it. And Honorable Speaker, I want to put a practical example. We know that there are a number of people who are heading EPRA, KPC. They tried. They realized there was a problem with the G2G deal, and they tried to find a way to get cheaper fuel into the country. And lo and behold, unfortunately, these people lost their jobs or were fired, and innocent people like Joe Sang who lost their jobs. I didn't want to go into that direction. But those people who went to incite this situation to have some of those people fired, we've come to realize they had interests. And Honorable Speaker, I'm not afraid to say, the chair
to office, Honorable Speaker, the dollar was upwards of 160, 100 and something. And of course, Kenya needed, for you to be able to purchase this very important product, it is on a monthly basis that you are supposed to collect huge amounts of dollars for us to be able to do this. So over and above the consistency in supply, Honorable Speaker, the G2G also cautioned the pricing cycle and the prices of the petroleum product, Honorable Speaker. Sometimes back, Honorable Speaker, after the Triton scandal, we came up with a very good system that was called open tender system that has become a system that is used by almost so many other African countries who came to learn out of that. But the G2G, it was a very good system, Honorable Speaker, but because of the challenges that we fell into as a country, then we had to look for ways. And of course, this administration came with the G2G, Honorable Speaker, that really addressed so many issues for this, and of course, relieving the very physical space that we keep on talking about, Honorable Speaker. This war that is there, that actually has now come to question the G2G arrangement, Honorable Speaker. How we wish that we would be able to pray every day and night that it will come to an end, Honorable Speaker. Because it is out of this war that we have no any other responsibility, Honorable Speaker, as a country, that we are where we are. Honorable Speaker, this afternoon I was before the Budget and Appropriation Committee, just to talk on how best then, and some of the questions over and above the budget issue that I was presenting, Honorable Speaker, the first question that the committee wanted to know is about the fuel prices of this country. And Honorable Speaker, I took almost 20 minutes trying to explain where we are, the supply, the days, the stocks that we have. And of course, they had a lot of concerns. But I want to agree that as a few, and it's unfortunate, Honorable Speaker, we have been asking for money for an institution called NOC. Honorable Speaker, it is in the Budget Committee that we normally go so that we can be able to ask for monies. Honorable Speaker, in my tenure as a chair of the Energy Committee in 2018-2019, we had proposed this. And again, Honorable Speaker, in this Parliament, the 13th Parliament, again, when I took over the chairmanship of, we have been trying to get resources to be able to give money to NOC, the National Oil Corporation of Kenya, that we can be able, and I want to thank the Budget Committee for the last one financial year, that they were able to give us resources to be able to relieve the NOC from the financial burden and the debts that they had. And this year we were looking forward, and I want to thank the infrastructure, National Infrastructure Fund, where NOC is an government-owned enterprises has been taken to, and we are looking forward to maybe in the next 1 year, maybe these things will be over. That NOC will be back on its feet. It will be the institution that will be given that responsibility to do that work. Honorable Speaker, it has been asked about the Turkana oil. Honorable Speaker, by December this year, the first batch of our crude oil will be sold. And we have a very good crude oil, Honorable Speaker. The sulfur content is reasonable. So we would just want to request Kenyans to be a little bit patient, that with time, these prices, and with the timing that has been given, a request that the waiver that was requested by the Ministry of Trade, hopefully within 6 months, if things go well, Honorable Speaker, within the next 1 month or so. And the government has done so much. 13.
It is 5 minutes. Member for Nairobi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. Madam Speaker, as we discuss the concerns on rising fuel prices and the ongoing already done with protests, let's be honest with Kenyans. We understand that fuel prices increasing is going to give our people pain. Transport costs will go up, food prices will be affected, businesses will be under pressure, but we must resist the temptation to oversimplify the issues and mislead Kenyans for political mileage. The opposition is comparing Kenya's fuel prices with those of our neighbors without giving the full picture. Kenya has one of the most structured and transparent fuel pricing systems in the region under the Energy, Petroleum, and Regulatory Authority. Our prices reflect international crude oil prices, exchange rates, taxes, levies, transport, stabilization mechanisms, global tensions, rising crude oil prices have affected all the countries across the world. Taxes and levies contribute significantly to the pump price. Kenyans apply VAT, excise duty, road maintenance levy, petroleum development levy, and other charges. Parliament must, I agree, Parliament must continue to review these levies to cushion Kenyans where possible, but let us also tell Kenyans the whole truth. Some neighboring countries are cushioning fuel through subsidies and delayed price adjustments. Kenya has instead focused on ensuring a stable supply while managing fiscal responsibility. And this is where we must defend the government-to-government import arrangements. Madam Speaker, the G2G framework has constantly been attacked politically. Yet we must ask ourselves honestly, would we be worse off for Kenya and the economy, a controlled price increase or an actual fuel shortage? Because when fuel runs out, the economy does not merely become expensive, it becomes paralyzed. We have seen neighboring countries experiencing long queues, panic buying, rationing, supply disruptions. Kenya, despite the global shocks and foreign exchange pressures, has largely maintained fuel availability. Public transport continues operating, hospitals continue functioning, food continues reaching markets, businesses continue serving Kenyans because fuel remains available. The government-to-government arrangement was introduced to reduce pressure on our dollar reserves by allowing Kenyans to secure fuel on extended credit terms instead of immediate dollar demands. This has helped stabilize the market, protect the shilling from further pressures, and avoid supply disruptions. Madam Speaker, fuel powers agriculture, manufacturing, transport, electricity, generation, regional trade. A shortage would trigger inflation at levels worse than what we are currently experiencing. Now, as we debate the matter, let us also stop reducing national conversations into an attack against President William Samoei Ruto. The opposition today is bent on demonizing every action of the government, even where the intention is clearly to move Kenya forward. But in so doing, they forget the important lesson from the greatest opposition leader the country has ever produced, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, may he rest in peace. Even at the height of political tension, Raila Odinga understood one thing: Kenya must never burn because of politics. No matter how difficult the moments became, and even when he believed elections had not gone fairly, he reached moments where he chose the country over division, stability over chaos, and dialogue over destruction. When we agreed to work with President William Ruto through the broad-based approach, it was not a weakness. It was statesmanship. It was recognizing that a divided nation cannot prosper. But it was that understanding that peace, stability, and investor confidence are necessary for jobs, growth, and opportunity. Madam Speaker, we cannot oppose development simply because it's being done by political opponents. When government renovates airports, improves roads, builds stadiums, modernizes infrastructure, expands affordable housing to improve facilities like the Bomas International Conference.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important matter. Madam Speaker, the economy of a country runs on the back of diesel. When the cost of diesel goes up, the cost of transportation of every item goes up. And when the cost of transportation of every item goes up, it means the cost of every item, that cost will be passed to the common mwananchi out there. Madam Speaker, the cost of living has gone up because of the current cost of primarily diesel. What the government, we are calling on this government to please consider its citizens and reduce all these taxes that are in the cost of fuel. Some of the costs, like the fuel levy and the VAT, should be reduced temporarily, maybe for 2 months or so, or 3 months, so that we can reduce the cost of fuel for mwananchi. I think it's a high time this government became responsible and reduced the cost of fuel for the common mwananchi. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Lelmengit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to add my voice on this issue. And Honorable Speaker, I would like to support. And when fuel prices, Honorable Speaker, go up, it goes up for everybody, whether in opposition, united opposition, or supporting government. All of us in this country feel the pain. But we have to come to terms with this fact, Honorable Speaker, because we know what are the reasons for the fuel going up in this country. We know it is the US, Israel war fights against Iran. And Honorable Speaker, we understand that this is a global issue. And
Honorable Member for Marakwet, you are
debate.
totally out of order. I'll give Marakwet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for protecting me from loud discussions. Honorable Speaker, we can debate this issue all day, throughout the week, throughout the year. But we have to look at what can the government forego and what are we willing to take as citizens of this country. I've looked at how government comes up with the fuel pump prices in this country, and we have the funds for price stabilization. We can play with it where the government can work on something about it. We have on the excise duties, we have on the road maintenance levy, and the VAT, Honorable Speaker, where at the moment the government has cut the VAT by 50%, Honorable Speaker. We also understand, Honorable Speaker, that fuel generates revenue to this country. It's one of the largest amongst other sectors that generate revenue to this country, Honorable Speaker. So what are we willing to forego? Are we willing to forego the RMLF, the road maintenance levy, which we have already committed those funds to repair our roads across the country? We are in a very rainy season at the moment, Honorable Speaker, and the roads across the city and different parts of the country, Honorable Speaker, are in pathetic condition. Are we willing to forego this and use bad roads? Honorable Speaker, again, I know we have done securitization of these funds, Honorable Speaker. Are we willing to stop the securitization and stop the development of roads in this country? Honorable Speaker, we have also to be alive to the fact that this is a temporary matter. And I pray that probably in another few months, this thing will be a thing of the past. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad that we see other countries, Honorable Speaker, that they have fuel shortage because probably they didn't plan early or probably they preferred subsidy. And subsidizing fuel too much, Honorable Speaker, means that we have to cut resources from other sectors like health, like education, so that we can subsidize on fuel. So therefore, paralyzing other sectors of the economy, Honorable Speaker. So since the energy sector sat down and gave a proposal that this is the way we want to levy tax and also give a standard price of the fuel pump price of the petroleum in this country, Honorable Speaker, I think it is high time that we come to a reality as Kenyans that if we even do the subsidy, it will overburden the government and also cut supply of funds to other sectors of the economy like education and health. We've seen also a lot of shortages across the different countries in Africa, Honorable Speaker, including a country like Malawi. At the moment, petrol, diesel cost per liter goes for close to 500 Kenyan shillings, Honorable Speaker. And we have to appreciate the fact that at least Kenya, we have constant supply of fuel, be it diesel or petrol or kerosene, only that the prices are a little bit high. We have to appreciate the fact that we have so many roads that we are maintaining. We have so much roads that we've committed that we need to develop. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge the united opposition that let us not politicize this thing. It is a sad reality that is hitting all of us as a country, but we have to live with it, and let us not politicize. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Order, members. Honorable members, and the time being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Thursday, 28th May 2026 at 2:30 p.m.